everybody. I'll call to order the regular meeting of Coachella Valley Water District Board of Directors, June 23rd, 2026, here in Palm Desert. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Good morning, President Powell.
Here.
Vice President Estrada.
Here.
Director Bianco.
Here.
Director Aguilar.
Here.
And Director Sanchez.
Here.
Perfect. Thank you.
Do we have any additions, deletions, or adjustments for today's agenda?
We
Good.
Yeah,
Do we?
we do, Mr. President. Item 8B, which is a public hearing, will be continued to the July 14th meeting. It has been noticed in the it has been published in the newspaper to reflect the July 14th date.
Okay, so we were just not going to do that today.
Correct.
Good. Which would explain why I don't have a script for it. So I guess I don't need to ask for the script. I do.
8 Bravo.
B
Okay.
is in Bravo.
Any other changes? Hearing none. Public comment. Is there anybody from the public wishing to make public comment at this time? And we will have opportunities as we get to various agenda items to do public comment on those specific items. But any other public comment? No? Okay. Special presentations. We have
1.
I just turned it off. We have 2 anniversaries we're recognizing. One is not here. That's Felix Banuelos, Operations Crew Chief with Collections with 20 years. I believe he's not here. And then we have also a 25-year anniversary for Eric Morales. Eric Morales always envisioned having a career at CVWD. His father, Frank Morales, a longtime Zenhero who advanced to chief water clerk at the district, was one of the one who encouraged him to apply. Today, Eric is proud to carry on that legacy. The Coachella native got his start at CVWD in 2001 as a Zenhero trainee. Promotions followed in 2002 to Zenhero 1 and again in 2005 to Zenhero 2. Eric took on the job of crop reporter in 2015 and transitioned into the role of canal water specialist in 2021. In his current role, Eric continues to oversee crop reporting responsibilities while also monitoring various assets on the Coachella Canal. This includes identifying leaks, mechanical issues, and communication systems problems. He's also involved in CVW's employee labor union, Teamsters Local 1932, and contributed to the 2025 negotiations for the new MOU. When he isn't working, Eric is busy making memories with his wife, Davina, their blended family of 8 kids, and which most of them are here, I believe, right? And their 4 grandkids. He also enjoys watching sporting events, playing softball, and listening to music. On weekends, you might find him DJing at special events and attending the Apostolic Church of Indio on Sundays. So, congratulations, Eric, and come on up.
Me. You.
All right, thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank God for giving me this blessing of working here as a legacy employee and following in my dad's footsteps, which were big shoes to fill. I would like to thank the board for the recognition for today, along with the staff in attendance as well. And I want to thank and acknowledge my family for supporting me all these years. All the weekends, the holidays, the nights, call outs were not easy on you. but you supported me regardless of my schedule. 25 years have gone by so quickly, and I've had the opportunity to meet and work with many awesome people eternally here in the district with many departments and externally with my farming community, as well as many local, county, state, and federal agencies, as well as my brothers and sisters from the Teamsters. I've seen many changes in technologies and within our system and have experienced historical events such as 9/11, COVID, and Hurricane Hillary, to name a few. And on all those events, myself and the Zero Group have worked through all those events, providing canal water service 365 days a year, day and night, during the heat, the cold, wind, rain, and even a pandemic, which we work 14-day shifts to cover those needs. This leads me to the last acknowledgement and thank you, which is the Zahara Group. They are the unsung heroes of the district, which no one speaks about because the general public does not know what role the Zahara plays, but the farming community does. They are the lifeline that provides canal water to the crops and fields in the lower valley, which puts food on the table across this nation and abroad. These 6 days and hurdles deliver water from the canal through miles of pipeline with precision accuracy in a gravity-fed system. A system that encompasses 137,416 acres and encompasses an approximate area of 215 square miles. The Night Zen Herald does it alone. This is an art and is a craft that is not taught in any university, college, or trade school. This art is passed on from one Zen Herald to the next. The tools they use: a truck, a radio, a laptop, and valve wrenches. Those 4 tools help us to do our job. With all the technology we have, this is what we do. And I'm proud to be a legacy Zen Herald. I'm proud to be working here, continuing my dad's tradition, hopefully get a 3rd generation in here, my son. So I thank you all for your acknowledgments, and I thank you all for working with me and providing I love this place. I mean, I spent my childhood here growing up, and the farming community, Rick, Alex, Anthony, John, working with you guys has been great. So thank you all.
Y'all want to come on up and get a photo? Everybody. Related there.
Yeah, not everybody.
So glad you all came. Pretty sure that's one that's not going to get replaced by AI, Eric. Can't see a robot doing that job. Good. So we have a lot of items on the consent calendar, 6A through P. And I know Director Aguilar is recusing on item 6J, but unless that item is pulled, we don't need to do anything as far as leaving the room.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second your motion.
I'm gonna second.
Do
and
I need
just-
to disclose what the conflict is?
Oh, go ahead, Nick. Yeah,
Okay,
go ahead,
so-
John.
So I am disclosing that on this particular item, which is the septic to sewer project in Cathedral City, one of the parks that's affected by this project, I have a rental in.
Okay. Fair enough.
and
Thank
that was a second, and I just wanted to say that I'm happy to see that that item is before the board.
Oh, okay, great. So we do have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, with pass 4-0 with one recusal.
Well, just on the one item.
Just on.
With one recusal on J, sorry.
Correct.
Yeah, put that in there. Good. Well, now, moving right along. This brings us to our 8A public hearing. At this time, staff will provide a presentation on the domestic water service and sewage and waste service availability assessments to be assessed for fiscal year 2026-27 through collection on the tax rolls. Making the presentation this morning is Albert Galindo, accountant. Go ahead, Albert.
Good morning.
Whatever.
Within improvement district numbers 6, 7, 8, 18, 19, and service area 35, the amount of the levy is $10 per year for each acre of land, or $10 per acre for each parcel of land less than 1 acre for domestic water service availability. Within improvement districts numbers 10, 13, 14, and 15, the amount of the levy is $30 per year for each acre of land, or $30 per year for each parcel of land less than 1 acre of domestic water service availability. Within improvement district number 11, the amount of the levy is $23 per year for each acre of land, or $23 per year for each acre of land less than 1 acre for domestic water service availability. Within all sanitation improvement districts, the amount of the levy is $30 per year for each acre of land, or $30 per year for each acre of land less than 1 acre for sewage and waste service availability.
This is the time and place fixed for the public hearing on the proposed domestic water service and sewage and waste service availability assessments in Riverside and Imperial counties for the fiscal year 2026-27. Clerk Bermudez, have we completed proper notification of this hearing?
Yes, Mr. President, we have proper notification of this hearing was completed. The district noticed the hearing in the Desert Sun and the Imperial Valley Press.
And council, can you explain what we're doing here? I usually have a prompt there, but you're on, Nick.
Thank you. This public hearing is being held pursuant to a notice duly published in a newspaper as required by law within counties subject to annual domestic water service and sewage and waste service availability assessments for fiscal year 26-27. These assessments are unchanged from previous years. The report containing the description of each parcel of land within the district upon which the assessments will be imposed has been filed with the clerk of the board.
Thank you. I declare the public hearing open and will request that those wishing to speak please give your name, property location, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone who wishes to comment? Seeing none, there being no further comments, I declare the hearing closed. Clerk Bermudez, have we received any written communications regarding the availability assessment?
No, Mr. President, we have not received any written communications on this.
Thank you. Council, will you comment on the public hearing?
This public hearing has been held as required by law. The board has given the property owners the right to be heard. All legal requirements have been satisfied, and the board can now proceed in making its decision on the establishment of the domestic water service and sewage and waste service availability assessments to be collected on the tax rolls.
Thank you. So do I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2026-24, a resolution to levy domestic water service and sewage and waste service availability assessments and authorize transfer of assessments to fiscal year 2026-27 county tax rolls?
I just have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
The 660 feet that you need to be, your parcel needs to be, or you're charged or not charged, is that a state law or that's something that the district
That is within the water code.
That's the water code. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so that's
State law.
that's what it is. What it is. Okay,
Yes, sir.
got it.
That's a good question.
Is-
I saw that. I was kind of curious where that came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, should have.
Is that water code particular to CVWD or to all water agencies?
My understanding it is within CVWD, but I would have to double check. But I'm confident that it's within CVWD.
So it's
pertaining
specific to CVWD.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So we
There's a
set
lot of
that.
water. Yeah. There's a
Well,
lot of water
the
codes,
state adopted the water code for that. I bet you there's others that are similar to that. I don't know. That's a good question.
Just when I see the water code, there's a lot of things that are
Specific.
water
to-
agency specific.
Yeah, we can get back to the
Yes.
board on that. There is one
Yeah.
section of the water code specific to CVWD that deals with replenishment charges. And we're set up under the section for county water districts. There may be something in that section, but my sense is it's a pretty standard. But
You
we'll,
know,
we'll confirm.
It might be boilerplate that others use, but it's in our specific section. Yeah, let's get the answer to that.
Will
That'd be
do.
great.
And was that a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, and I'll second, but I still have
Okay, go ahead.
more questions. So these availability charges, so I could see here where it says sewage and all wastewater, and it says all. Does this cover the entire district boundary, or are there areas that are not covered for either water and sewer?
These are all, excuse me. I believe these are all our charges within our service area.
So everybody within our service area who is not connected gets some type of availability charge?
If they have the infrastructure for the water and or sewer, they would be getting
Within
charged this.
660 feet.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're or more than that, then you don't get charged at all.
So I guess the other question is, why is there a difference in the cost per acre depending on the district that you're in?
Right.
What's the driver to that?
I think the driver was, which back when it was established, the board reviewed if these lines were designed by CVWD, or if the water district overtook another system. They also took into consideration existing water systems as well. So based on those three criteria, they decided to charge differently.
Okay. And then the last question I have is, and this is probably hard, but I'm going to ask it anyways, is what's the oldest improvement district here and what's the newest one? Is
You're right, it was hard.
Is the old, I mean, is the old, like, even if it's a guess, is like the oldest one 60 years old and the newest one 20 years old, or any sense of that?
There were some improvement districts that were established. The research that I did around the 1970s. I believe there were some that were added after. Which improvement districts that were for the newest or oldest, I would have to probably drill in a little bit more, but I can get that information.
And this is I feel like I've asked these questions every time that this comes up to get a recap on the details on why some are different, and
Of course.
I would like to get a little better understanding of everything you just said as relates to the board having done some type of analysis that put us down this path where we're charging different rates based on different areas. Jim, if we could do that in an appropriate manner, I don't know if that's just on under
does this
reports or.
Does this get picked up in the cost of service study?
No, it doesn't.
No,
I mean, it's a source of revenue for the.
no. I can tell you I don't have a cite from the water code, but the AI overview says in California, the distance of 660 feet, 1/8 of a mile, is a standard regulatory measurement frequently used in municipal codes and regional water management plans. It typically dictates minimum fire hydrant spacing, water main proximity for utility fees, and specific well distances. And then under water main assessment, access assessments,
660.
water agencies utilize 660 feet as a threshold for billing and infrastructure assessment. For example, the Los Angeles County Public Works uses 660 feet as a cutoff to tier standby charges for properties, and that's from the county of LA. But there, I
So
could
it's
keep
eighth of a
looking,
month.
but
Yeah.
it seems pretty standard.
It's a
and appears in a
boilerplate
number of
number.
places.
Yeah. Careful, you're going to get replaced by AI if you keep doing that.
That'd be up to you, sir.
Yeah, Jim. So, I don't know if we bring that back under departmental reports or
Sure.
how we handle that, but I just like
You
to
want
get a
the-
better sense of.
Yeah, it's not an agenda item because it's not. There's no action, right?
You want background on?
Yeah, background,
Background.
on why we have different rates for.
them out and see what they are. And
Yeah,
God, why does it keep going on?
But it doesn't say that you can't go farther. So
It may have something to do with when the districts were set up. I mean, we set up.
farther is you couldn't. I mean,
You mean
what
s-
says you can't use 1,000 feet? And then
I-
you would,
I
and
bet-
then you, and then you would capture more. You would capture more property.
I bet you could argue if you imposed an assessment on me if I was more than 660
getting
feet,
into
I
your
would say,
area
well,
of expertise.
that's more than the industry standard, and it's not realistic that I could connect to your system, so you shouldn't charge me. I mean, I would sue. You know, I don't know if someone would sue over it for $30, but you know, yeah, or $23 or whatever it
year.
is.
yeah. I mean, I'm just more interested in what you mentioned about the assessment because we took on older systems or whatever.
Yeah, there's
findings were
there's a
at.
lot of different things that go into it. I
Yeah.
bet you.
So, and I don't know if there was a plan where in the future these were meant to all be the same rate after certain things happened. That's kind of where I'm trying to
yeah.
go with this and understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, typically when we set up an assessment district, it serves a specific geographic area, and there's a certain cost to putting the infrastructure in, and that sets the rates for that geographic area. But I'll get back and confirm
Yeah,
that.
it's could be quite a research project to get it all because some of it's probably like 50 years old.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, of when it happened. All right, we have a motion and a second.
The amount we're charging may need to be more too. Who knows?
Yeah, well, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pass 5-0. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Albert.
Albert. It's like a trivia question, Costello.
Action.
Skipping that. 9A, this is a consider adoption of applicable policies to ensure compliance with SB 707.
Yes, and I had expected Jeff to be here, but I
Clerk
forgot to,
Bermudez, are you doing this one?
I am.
All
It's
right.
very brief. So effective July 1st, Senate Bill 707 added new requirements to the Brown Act for eligible legislative bodies, which mandate hybrid meetings and the adoption of policies regarding technology disruptions, accessibility for non-English speaking and unrepresented populations. I'll just go over briefly a couple of the things. One of the primary ones is the mandatory hybrid meetings, allowing for two-way telephonic service. Essentially what that means is we will go back to providing a Zoom option for members of the public to participate at every board meeting. Very similar to the process that we had during COVID-19. And then, so going forward, all of our board meetings will have that option for public participation. Part of that also includes that we adopt a policy which is attached for the board's review. It's a disruption of telephonic or internet service during meetings. It outlines what the district is required to do during a meeting should Zoom or any of the telephonic services occurs. So the district must adopt a policy regarding the disruption of telephonic or internet service occurring during board meetings. The proposed disruption of telephonic or internet service during meetings policy is enclosed and addresses the procedures for recessing and recovering board meetings in the event of a disruption and the efforts the board must take to attempt to restore the service. Some of the requirements include, but are not limited to, if a disruption in service occurs, the board must recess the meeting and may not reconvene for at least 1 hour after the disruption occurred or until service is restored, whichever is earlier. If a disruption cannot be remedied and at least 1 hour has passed, the board may reconvene, must adopt a finding by roll call vote that good faith efforts were taken to restore the service and the public interest in continuing the meeting outweighs the public interest in remote public access. The other requirement is translation and interpretations at meetings. So we are required to provide translation interpretations as meetings when requested. We also are required to translate the agenda into Spanish. We are not required to transcribe the documents, but just that. We have a policy for public participation and outreach. So we are required, the district is required to take reasonable measures to encourage the public, including those in underrepresented and non-English speaking communities, to participate in public meetings. There is a proposed public participation and outreach policy enclosed, which does outline the processes the district will take, which include maintaining an accessible internet page dedicated to public meetings, provides links, that provides a general explanation of public meeting process. The district must make reasonable efforts to invite groups that do not traditionally participate in public meetings to attend. That is a process that I will be working with our PACE department and communications staff. Sorry, this is very lengthy. I'm trying to
that's
go
all right.
as quickly as
It's
I
okay.
can. And then just the translation of the agendas into the required languages. And then also allowing of posting of additional translations should some member of the public request that an agenda be translated in a language. They provide the translation. We do not. We just have to provide a public location for that. And that is my very brief summary of that.
That's all, huh?
So our
That's
only
it.
language is Spanish.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right now
For this demographic.
for this, and that is based on census data. And
Right.
Nick has some additional comments to add.
And I'll just add for the board's awareness, these particular requirements that Sylvia went over primarily apply to cities and counties, but there are certain thresholds that apply to certain special districts based on the number of employees or the amount of revenue the district receives. And CVWD reaches those revenue thresholds. So it's one of the few special districts in the state that has to comply with all of these additional requirements. But most cities and counties will be complying with this as well as of January 1st. I'm sorry, July 1st.
Yeah. Okay. I saw that. Thank you.
Any questions?
No, it seems like something we can live with.
Yeah.
I mean,
And some of the requirements we have previously complied with as well. Like I said, the hybrid Zoom meetings and so forth. And our website does currently meet some of those requirements as well. And any of those requirements that we are currently not meeting, we will work with the appropriate departments to ensure that we are compliant.
Sylvia, it says consider
Where?
adoption.
Well, I'm asking you to consider the adoption, but you don't really
There
have
is
to.
no considering, right?
well, you can go to Sacramento and argue with them.
It's language.
I think it's easier to adopt it. Yeah.
Okay.
I would move approval of the item.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed 5-0.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're not forced to, but you have to.
Yes.
B, this is the rejection of bid. Armando, are you doing this one? Yep. You know, the name of so Oasis Gardens is not the same as Oasis Mobile Home Park, right? It's two different things. And I just got a little confused reading through here, Armando, that it says 77 units. Aren't there a lot more than 77 in this particular park? And are we just doing part of it, or what's going on there?
Thank you. Greatly appreciate the question. The 77 is the last remaining portion. The rest already are in centralized sewer service. The green line represented on the map, it is the sewer line that was installed back when we did the Mountain View Estates, which is the mobile home park to the south and to the west. And that gave the ability for that park to actually connect and take advantage of that trunk line. This is the last remaining piece.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Good morning, President Powell, members of the board, audience, and fellow staff. Just for my record, my name is Armando Rodriguez with the engineering department. And our request here is quite fold. One is to reject the bids from Dirk as non-responsive, deem Kaliawa's bid protest mute, waive the material deviation Kaliawa Awas, and authorize the general manager to execute a construction contract with Kaliawa in the amount of $4,105,249 for the Oasis Gardens Mobile Home Park connection project, and approve additional soft contingency cost for construction contingency, soil testing, civil project management, engineering services in the amount of $917,604 for a total request today of $5,022,853. And before I discuss the merits of the project or the construction procurement details, I would like to just highlight something that is very peculiar and a very high interest to this project. We have a great funding partner with the state. And the state, we have obtained a grant in the amount of $2.8 million and with the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. In addition to that, we are eligible based on the 77 EDU units up to $9.6 million, which exceeds the project cost that we have now. As a result, we have completed and submitted a final budget approval package for the additional amount so that we can be fully funded on this project. And we have received a final draft budget amendment. Unfortunately, it's the chicken before the egg. We have to take this step first before they can allocate that FPA agreement. And so we are sitting very well with this project in regards to the project funds. And that's the highlight or the special condition in regards to this project that I want to highlight before we get into procurement. The project is a huge, significant investment in the DAC communities. A particular highlight is Lift Station 5521. We're expanding capacity. Currently, we don't have additional capacity to take on the Oasis Gardens Mobile Home Park. But then as you might recall, we also have more projects to do on Avenue 66, which will take sewer all the way to Harrison Street. And then we can be able to tie towards Martinez Tribe and then also Sunbird and some adjacent areas. But we don't have the capacity for that within the list. So this project will be able to expand not only for Oasis, but for regional growth and future development. So the Lift Station 5521 is critical, not only for now, but for the projects we have on queue, but for future. The project will be outfitted with new pumps, new mechanical equipment, electrical controls, and SCADA. So we're going to be redoing the whole lift station. So it's great timing because of its age and our partnership with the state. Now we not only have a refurbished lift station, but we have a lift station that can work for the future. In addition to that, we'll be installing some on-site septic improvements so that we can get rid of some septic tanks so that we can connect the 77 EDU units. The project was duly advertised on March 17th, and on May 20th, we received 4 bids. Staff reviewed the Dirk proposal in the amount of $3,262,800, and we determined it didn't comply with the requirements of our bidding documents. The 4 corners are a spec. It just didn't meet it. And the biggest concern was just the bid security was not handed as a hard copy. And that's what our specs require. We need a hard copy so that we can validate the security bond at the time of bid. What we received was just a scan copy. And that makes it really hard for us to validate the bid security at that time. So therefore, we considered this bid non-responsive. Staff evaluated then the second low bidder, Kaliawa, in the amount of $4 million, almost $4.1 million. And there were two irregularities. The first one was the mobilization exceeded the allowable amount of 5%. I think it was 5.6, 5.7. But we have worked with the contractor, and he's amenable to reduce that mobilization and put that dollar amount to demobilization. So now that he can be compliant. The second one is the contractor omitted the license number, but we were able to verify that the license number, contractor license number, is actually active and in good standing. Again, council worked closely with BBK on not only on the bid bond, but also on the Kaliawa's immaterial deviations. And we have determined that the best approach is to consider Dirk's non-responsive, and second, determined Kaliawa as the lowest responsible bidder. Now, there is a cost difference here, but as I said before, we are fully funded by the state. Also, I would like to address the cost difference between the engineer's estimate and the first bidder of 2.9. Yes, we were a little higher than we extended, and then with the second bidder, we were even higher now. Because there is a quite difference, about $1 million. But keeping the operation of the lift station running while you have to do all the mechanical improvements and electrical improvements is quite extensive sequencing. And when we looked at the bid, that's one area of work that our engineer's estimate was quite lower than what the market value now is telling us that sequence was going to take. Lastly, as you recall, there is Kaliawa did submit a bid protest for Dirk, but because staff has determined Dirk's bid as non-responsive due to the bid security issue, we are recommending that bid to be determined, or bid protest to be determined mute. So in summary.
So why do you say they're non-responsive when they're actually protesting?
No, Dirk's to be non-responsive, and Kaliawa to be responsive, the second bidder.
Right.
Kaliawa's protesting.
And I wanted to follow up. I wanted to follow up on that too. I think what Armando's saying is that they're non-responsive. Dirk is non-responsive because they submitted their bond in
electronic form as a
scan instead of a hard copy.
A physical bid bond.
And I'm having a hard time understanding what the difference is. Because that's all the thing about the protest is moot, so probably don't need to talk about that. But what about this non-response? Is this standard? Is that a legal question? If you submit a scan of something instead of the hard copy, is that like you submitted nothing at all?
Let me take a stab.
Armando, we do have Adam on the line as well, so if you'd like to defer to him for some legal
You
use.
know what I'm saying?
It's specific on the bid documents I mentioned.
It says you have to do it, but what's the difference?
These problems come up a lot here at CBWD, where we have these technicalities, and it's not just you, and it's happened with you too before on other things, where we have these technicalities where we have to take the second or third guy, the highest guy.
Yeah, I just want to know.
It's a lot of them.
I want to know what
pattern here.
Yeah, what's the difference between a scan and a hard copy? Is there more information in the hard copy than what's available in a scan?
There is, and I will try to.
I am here, Armando.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Mary Beth.
why don't we try to answer that
Thank
question?
you, Mary Beth, if you can help me answer this question.
Good morning, everyone.
Right.
Yes, there has been a long-standing requirement that bid security be delivered in hard copy. There are three options for bid security: the bid bond, a cashier's check, or cash. And obviously, all of those would need to be in hard copy in order to be accepted as security. There is a prolific fake bid bond market out there. And so the surety market is adjusting and creating electronic bid bonds. But those would be very similar to like a DocuSign or something like that, where it comes through secure, supplied by a vendor, et cetera. And so that's where the industry is going to deal with electronic transmission versus scanned transmission. So historically, this board and pretty much every agency that we work with requires hard bid bonds at this point, recognizing that the technology is catching up to allow the electronic bid bonds be delivered securely in the future.
But in this case, it doesn't sound like it was sent via what you just described. It was a scan.
It was not, and as a matter of fact, CBWD would have to adopt a one of the services similar to like a DocuSign or a Planet Bids, and we're watching that. And at that point, there will be a shift where we would allow the electronic bid bonds to come in through. One of the most prolific is Surety 2000 is kind of the big electronic bid bond supplier at this point.
So it's something that could be accepted. We just have not made that change in our requirements yet.
Well, President Powell, it would also require that the contractors subscribe to the same service. And that historically has been a cost issue for some of the smaller contractors. But again, just like kind of everything that we're seeing with technology, everything is those types of systems are becoming more affordable and more commonplace. So again, the industry is catching up.
Well, why does it have to be one or the other? Why can't you have both?
It could have both.
Yeah,
So,
you absolutely could. You could have, and as a matter of fact, for our clients who have adopted Surety 2000 or a similar product, we do recommend that they maintain either a hard copy delivery prior to the bid opening or the electronic service that would be in the bid documents as options.
So one of the things that I find interesting about this is that, first of all, thank you for your work on this project, which is critically important for many of those disadvantaged parks to be serviced in the future. But I noticed that in Dirk's response letter to the issues of being non-responsive, that they don't address the issue of the bid security. They address several of the other issues that were mentioned that were deemed minimal, I guess. Do you know why that is? Is it because they sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so the bid protest brought by the second lowest bidder only addressed Dirk's qualifications and experience. And as this board may recall, when we need to examine a contractor's experience or qualifications, that is no longer a finding of non-responsiveness. It is a finding of non-responsibility that requires a due process hearing and other legal steps that really weren't necessary in this situation, given the fact that we have consistently required hard copy bid bonds, even during COVID when we were bidding projects. Hard copies were expected to be delivered. So that was kind of, a determinative factor. So we didn't need to go through Caliagua's bid protest and say, yes, they have the requisite experience or they do not, which again would have required due process. And it's a much more serious finding, if you will, than just a finding of, you delivered this wrong, a Scribner's error, if you will. Which is why the bid protest was deemed moot, because we had already determined them to be non-responsive.
So we did that on our own without it being a trigger of the protest. That's what you're saying?
Yes, staff independently determined that the original bid bond had not been delivered prior to even receiving Caliagua's letter of protest.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, I would suggest we need to seriously consider moving in the direction of accepting some kind of an electronic submission. I mean, I do deals all the time in my own business. They're all electronic, there's no hard copies. But, I mean, I think that world has gotten a lot better and more secure. But we don't have that now. So these guys really are not, they're non-responsive because of that, which was clearly stated, right? They knew that it was required and they
Right.
didn't do it. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry,
Morning, Carl.
President Powell, just for clarification, in our proposed purchasing policy amendments, we are going to be adding the ability to do the electronic bid bonds. And we do use Planet Bids, and we would subscribe to Surety 2000 or any other program as well. But that is part of our amendments that we're bringing forth. And we're scheduled to bring an additional, we already did 2 informational items, one with the Finance Committee, one with this board. We're scheduled to bring another informational item July 14th, and then subsequent to that, adopt the policy.
Okay.
It just seems like,
Yeah.
we have these guys who come in that we're not familiar with, and they give us a lower bid, and it seems like there's always something that goes wrong, why we have to spend another $1 million on a project because we think that they can't perform.
But that's not what this is.
In
has-
his response though, he
Yep.
is saying that the district is telling him that we don't think he could do it. Isn't that correct
No.
on this? Isn't he
No.
rebutting what we said?
No, we didn't
I
say
think
it.
one-
The Dirk said it, and he's rebutting that. But
It says the protest contends that Dirk does not possess sufficient relevant experience.
Yeah, that's not our language. Or
That's on our language telling him.
No,
And
that's
we're-
no,
that's
no,
on
no.
Caliagua's.
That was Caliago. That was the
Caliago.
protester.
Yeah, but we didn't even
What we're
consider it.
saying is our decision has really nothing to do with that protest.
Yeah, our decision not necessarily with responsibility of the contractor, is regards to responsiveness. And there's a big
Yeah.
difference between responsibility and responsiveness. And what we're determining is that it's not responsive because it didn't meet the specifications, the 4 corners of the specifications with regard to
Yeah.
hard copy bid.
All
right.
What is this lake up here? I'm not familiar with that.
That's used to be I
Coal
believe,
Ranch.
Colts Ranch.
Coal Ranch.
And that was going to be our first non-potable water.
That was like
dewatering.
Pulte or somebody was building homes there.
Yeah, when I first came here, I was excited about this project.
And so that
And
doesn't
I'm still
have
waiting for
That
it.
doesn't have water in it now.
Yeah, I think it
Believe
does.
It does.
There's
I haven't gone there in the last 5 years, so I can't say yes.
That's the big school just
Yeah,
south of it.
that's,
And
that's the high school and the middle school.
Yeah.
That's
why
Rancho
is that
Mirage.
full of water when there's no project?
I think it's a
there
low
right now?
spot.
Huh?
It's a low spot, isn't it? Is it coming up from the ground? I bet it is.
I have not been involved with this project.
It has nothing to do. All
About
right,
5-7
we have
years.
we have a lot to do today. So
Yes.
why don't we?
I'm gonna make
focus?
a motion.
Focus.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion, and I think to the points that you made about our partnership with the state, I think that's all true. We've worked with them over the years. They've given us a lot of money for a lot of infrastructure. I think it's very, very likely that they're going to amend the financial agreement to match your request. And I think that it's a big benefit to us too when I don't think we're forced to use a lot of our capacity fees for expansion, knowing that we might have some growth. So I think that's the case here where, we're not being forced to maybe use a lot of our own impact fees that I think are available for this type of stuff. So I think it's a good project, and that's my motion.
I'd like to second that.
It is $65,000 a unit to hook them up. It's a lot. I guess that's normal.
The state, I think, allows 175,000 per unit. if I'm not
Jeez.
mistaken.
Well, at least it's 80,000 for consolidations. I don't know what it is. It
Anyways,
differs
yeah, it's below
based on
that.
program.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
And just for clarification, the motion is to adopt the staff's recommendation, correct? Because I know there was a lot of discussion back and forth.
Yes, staff's recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Yeah. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Armando.
So I'm here once again to seek authorization for the general manager to enter into a power purchase agreement and site lease agreement with Nobel Energy Solutions for solar energy facility at Ward 10 and also here within operations. In essence, what will be happening is installing solar panels within the area shown, and also provide some shade within the amphitheater, but not necessarily the amphitheater will have solar panels. And then we'll have a total of about 12 EV charging stations, I believe 6 here for the employees and 6 out in the front. And those will be, I believe, free of charge because they will be provided energy through a solar panel. In addition to not only Steve Robbins parking area in the mulch area, if we can go to slide 2, please. We'll be providing within the operations staging area and also within our north boundary Warp 10 area, and then within the Warp 10 parking area. Just for a comparison sakes, I know we have done a purchase agreement before with the solar panel here within the operations parking area. That was 1,371 megawatts per hour. This one is substantially greater. It's 8,835 megawatts per hour. So it's about significantly 4 times as large. And the reason why is because we also have huge consumption of energy within our Warp 10. We operate that facility 24/7. And so this is a great opportunity to safeguard our risk with the utility increases that we've seen. Like we've seen from other agencies and ourselves, we continue to experience utility rates that are higher, beyond 10%, even at times when we have cataloged and looked at it, somewhere between 15% to at times one key was 18%. And so this purchase agreement would necessarily cap that risk at 3%. And be able to offset the cost. So in order for us to do this infrastructure in regards to carports and solar and reduce our energy and limit our risk exposure to increased utility increases, we have put out an RFP and sought qualified firms for this project. And the project within the RFP included a carports within the area shown. Also included was a shade within our door facility, amphitheater, battery storage, and the electrical charging units as well. We received 3 bids for this, and we also analyzed these bids within our engineering and operations and electrical staff. And we looked at them with regards to their technical qualifications, financial strength, project savings, experience, and then operation and maintenance as well. Nobel actually provided the highest life cycle savings at $32 million. By comparison, the second one provided 18, and then the third was about $9 million life saving cost. So like I said, this proposed facility will offset a substantial amount of our electrical consumption. And I think for me, that's the most attractive feature to be able to safeguard that risk. And so therefore, we have ranked Nobel as 1. And under this purchase agreement, it will be a 30-year. And one of the key aspects of this delivery, or how do we deliver all this infrastructure, is through this PPA, which would be a 30-year term. They would permit, design, construct, operate, and maintain these solar facilities for 30 years. There's no upfront cost for CUWD. Simply, CUWD purchases the electrical power that's being generated at the cost or a little bit less than what SC is currently now, with a 3% escalator. Once the agreement term comes within the end of the 3rd year, Then Nobel has a responsibility to remove these facilities and to return back the site as is. So the benefits of this PPA include a reduced electrical cost, long-term protection against future rates, greater predictability for our finance to be able to know what the rate structure will look like, and then also be able to provide some parking, shading parking structure finally for our parking for employees here with the Tim Robbins. And then also there'll be a 12, like I said, there'll be 12 electrical charging stations, 6 within State Robbins and then 6 out in the public. With that, I'll close this presentation and take any questions you might have.
I have a few. So you say the power purchase agreement limits the upside to 3% power rate increases per year over the life of the agreement.
Right.
What happens if the increase is less than 3%? Do we just get the actual? You know what I'm saying?
As far as I understand from the PPA agreement, it's a fixed 3%. I don't think there's
So
a
if,
variable.
so let's say rates go down, we're still going to have ours go up 3% every year
Correct.
for 30 years. I didn't see
but if
that.
we look
I didn't see that. I didn't see any analysis of that in the PAI.
We were looking past historical with regards to what's happening with the SCE rates. And I believe, please quote me if I'm wrong, but the last 10 years? In the last 10 years, we have not seen a rate decrease, but we have seen rate increases above 10%.
Every year for 10 years? Yeah, I mean, I understand all the pressures on rates. So we're taking some risk in the fact that this makes sense to us if rates go up every year 3% or more.
And yes, but from a conservative point of view, the cheapest rate is like 8% that we've seen in the last 10 years. We've seen greater than 8. And so if we have history as a way to determine where we want to go, it's a great data set that and that's a risk that we're trying to save ourselves from and pay less.
Sounds like you're saying the possibility that we lose out because it's less than 3 is very unlikely.
Based on history, is not.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. How did we negotiate the 3%?
How do you negotiate? Well, we wanted 2, and you know that's what they wanted.
So maybe to help Armando, the existing solar PPA is with Nobel as well. We are saving money every year with the existing PPA. There is risk with the 3% escalator. I manage the electrical costs for the district, and we're in the 25 million range, about 50% for ID, 50% for SCE. We have significant power costs at the plants. They're only going to continue to go up at WRP 10 and the campus itself. And a risk of 3% inflator over time sounds like definitely a risk, but there is without question that we believe over and above 3% every year is going to be SCE, especially they're having to put in a lot more transmission.
Yeah,
IID or SE is in a lot better shape than IID, but they do have significant transmission needs. So there is a risk at 3%, but we think it's still prudent to do this, and over time we're going to save a lot of money. So.
Yeah, when this was first built, when this facility was first built, we had a proposal for power, and I remember it was a similar deal, except I think we had to pay for the
upfront cost
for the infrastructure. And the number was higher than that. It was like, well, yeah, but if you model it at, I think it was like 6%, you're going to come out ahead. And we decided not to do it. And we were just trying to recoup our investment in that. So it's a little better because we don't have the upfront investment. Curious about when we built that parking lot, we put in all the conduit into the parking lot. Is that still there?
All the stuff is still there. Some of it could be saved, but it depends on the engineer who's going to be doing their electrical design to see if that's something that is warranted. But the infrastructure is there. And
So whether they use the conduit or not, it doesn't affect us.
No, it doesn't affect us at all.
All right.
They're going to own, operate, they're going to design and construct. That risk is theirs. If they use it, great. If not,
I mean, it's been there a while. Okay. All right. It's possible that it'll this $34 million savings, what is that based on? What's the implied rate of increase that generates that number?
we looked at a historical basis on SCE and then came out with the average and then compared it to that 3% escalator. Since the solar project, we're producing more electricity that would be consumed during the daylight, there is some savings to us feeding the SCE grid. So there's credits to our bill as well.
Okay, so essentially that 34 million, it's a 30-year number, is
This life cycle savings.
a million. So a million, essentially the difference between the 3% and what you think it's going to go up,
right, yeah.
which is probably 8. I don't know. You don't know the number?
We took an average. Luis, do we have that number?
Yeah, so we did a.
Here, why don't you come on up so we can hear you? Right? I mean, I just want to see the math behind the 34 million.
The energy savings.
Well, it's just we're not really. Well, all we're doing is
Not paying.
we're paying a different rate than what they're going to charge us.
Right.
So, otherwise,
we're
so it's
paying,
more of a rate savings than
it's
an
a
energy
rate
savings.
savings,
Yeah.
Morning, my name is
Hi.
Luis Arco, electrical engineer. The starting point or the starting rate with Novell is 14 cents a kilowatt hour, 14.85. And current rate is about 20 cents kilowatt hour with Edison. Also, the average increase we've seen over the past 10 years, specifically for Warp 10, has been 9.8%. So taking all of that into account, the generation, what would be sold back to Edison, and upcoming loads for Warp 10, T1 for example, which are large, is a very large facility, we came to that number, the 32 million.
Okay. So it's the load or the demand and the differential between 3% and 9.8 and 9.8%.
So we considered 5% Edison escalator for this project for this analysis. Right now, CPUC has it limited to 5% until 2030. I expect past that they're gonna hike up more because they haven't been able to charge us what they would like to. Is my opinion, but I expect that because that's what has happened in the past as well.
Okay.
They're limited.
So can you tell me how you'd get the 34 million? Is it 5% versus 3, or is it
Yes.
9.8 versus 3?
So in the analysis, it was 5% versus 3 and 20 cents versus 14 cents. So the delta over 30 years was that.
So you're using that 5% number the whole 30 years?
Correct.
Okay.
Which is a very conservative number.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. Okay.
Might be more.
Yeah, I just want to mention that I asked this yesterday. I think I got a response, but others might want to know that we have a special legal counsel that reviews this agreement.
Yes.
And they reviewed it. And
BBK.
Nick, can you comment on this? Or
Yes. Energy Procurement Council from BBK reviewed and worked with staff closely on this item. It's a standard PPA agreement and approach.
good. Well, with that, I would move approval of the item, of the PPA.
I'll second. I have one more question or comment. Is there any contingency for government participation, tax rebates, et cetera, that affect us in any way?
Not that I'm aware of.
The contractor's taking all that risk, if there is any.
Yes.
Correct. Typically, because they're taking on the risk, they would, if there were benefits received, for example, rebates on the panels, et cetera, they would take that on because they're taking the risk of building the system.
Right. Okay. It's probably a good move for us. So, any other discussion before we vote? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed 5-0. Thanks. Thank you, Armando. And
Thank you.
Okay. Don't go away, Armando. D, why don't you go ahead?
So we be seeking authorization to solicit bids for the construction of Warp 10 existing low-pressure, non-potable water connection improvement projects. And before we can begin, if I can just direct you to the map, if I can just talk up a little bit of the map. There was an error in our map. We're not installing new flow pressure control valves at all these 10 sites. What we were trying to show, these are the existing non-potable water connections that have been in use for a while. Since we started non-potable water in 1980, and this was our first targeted customers. And so we did an analysis on these 10, but our analysis doesn't mean that we can install 10 of these new flow pressure control valves. There's only be half of these. We made a CAD error in regards to what we wanted to show. We wanted to show the existing legacy non-potable water projects that we started in 1980, and then we wanted to show 5 of those, but I'll get into the presentation here shortly to say which 5. So we, as I said, we have been delivering non-potable water, recycled water for the Warp 10 service area since 1980. And as thanks to your leadership and approvals, we have really expanded the non-potable water beyond this reach. And because of that, we had to come back and look at the existing legacy recycled water projects like Desert Willow, Palm Desert Greens, First Tee, and see, do they operate the same? Because they don't have control. It's just one big pipe and a meter. And so do we have to be able to make sure that as we put more and more customers online and the pressure gradients change to the existing customers that we have, we want to be able to provide the same level of service that they have had. And so what we are doing is, as we continue to expand, we really have to look at these 5 older connections, the low pressure connections, because they were built with different standards than we have. And so what we need to do is to install flow control and control valves at 5 of these connections. So that would be Desert Willow, First Tee, Portola, Palm Desert Greens, and Marriott Desert Springs South. And if we would be able to install the flow control and pressure control and metering, and then we'd be able to ensure that there's redundancy, there's good reliability, and then preserve the capacity of the rest of the customers. Because one thing that could happen if we don't install these flow and pressure devices is that one customer can get a lot of water that they're not ready for. And then another new customer can get very little water. So we have to be able to regulate all the customers. So it really is about water reliability and capacity and to maintain that pressure head within their system. We estimate that this construction cost is about $2.2 million. So we're seeking your approval to solicit bids for the construction of these 5 connections. That's Desert Willow, First Tee, Portola Country Club, Palm Desert Country Club, and Marriott Desert Springs. So with that, I'll close to see if there is any questions. Let me just say the funding, because this is on-site, is going to be PAYGO, as I see, and not necessarily grant funded.
Armando, if you were running the canal side, oh my God. John, can you imagine if we had, because every customer is like that. Mm-hmm. Some gets more, some gets less. That's a normal thing for everybody.
I thought the speech that we had this morning said how precision it was.
Well, if I were running the canal, yeah, we with the pressures that we have here and the amount of water coming out, we need some type of control and some type of precision. If this was a canal, I think all my hair would be white by now.
Okay.
It's getting there.
All right.
Is this part of our budget?
Yes, there is a project we have budgeted.
Remind me again, did we completely get away from all of the non-potable budget? Is everything under sanitation now?
It's being funded by sanitation and also the water demand offset fee as well that was created. But yes, with primarily sanitation, water demand offset fee.
We eliminated non-potable, Jim, already?
I'm sorry, the question is?
The fund.
Do we not have a non-potable fund anymore?
No.
I seem to forget so that got removed.
That's all.
Because I thought at one point we even had a rate for that, right? Like a water rate for non-potable water.
Yeah, we billed. It was not sustainable.
Okay, I just want
a benefit to sanitation and not having to expand treatment by using the water and not having to dispose surface disposal.
Okay,
That's
I
the big
just
problem,
wanted to
avoid
clarify
regulation.
that we eliminated that fund. Thank you.
Yeah, we would have had rack fees that were off the charts.
Yeah, non-potable fees.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve this
Well, I'll make a motion to approve.
item? I'll second that. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Pass 5-0. On to finance. Just a small item here. Adoption of the fiscal year 27 operating and capital improvement budget.
Morning, David.
Morning.
Good
Thank you,
morning.
President Pell, members of the board. Have a short presentation, but we definitely have more information in the board items too. So we have individual summary tables for each fund and then also in the exhibits as well. So but I'll go ahead and go through the quick presentation and any questions you may have. So again, it's my privilege to discuss the adoption of the 2027 operating capital improvement budget. This is an all organization process, so I want to thank all the departments, directors, and board, especially too, for all the input that go into producing this document each year in this process. So the budget process started in November with department meetings, and then moved on in January with meetings with finance, and then the general manager before we had our public meetings on this. So we had 2 study sessions this year. On February 17th, the capital improvement plan was discussed. Modifications were made by the time we had that second study session on March 17th, which focused primarily more on the operating, but also the capital pieces of that. The third meeting was May 27th, where we had public hearings on the Prop 218 hearings for the replenishment funds and then also the canal rates. And then the meeting today as well for public adoption. So the action requested today, because we did discuss rates already, we are asking for approval of the operating capital improvement budget resolution. And I'm going to give a summary here real quick on some of the proposed changes. So over the past few months, we've gone through the rates. So a summary of the rates, the replenishment funds, The board authorized the ordinances for those rates to accept the Prop 218 maximum rates for the West Mission Creek and East replenishment funds. So the rates are listed there. It was a 4% rate increase approved for the West RAC. Mission Creek, it was a slight decrease to bring that rate down. And then the East RAC was a 1% rate, so those rates are reflected in the budget. The domestic rates, as we discussed, we will be having a cost of service study in fiscal year 27 to determine future rates.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Didn't we just do a cost of service study for domestic and sanitation?
We actually did in 2021, so that was the last time we've done one for domestic.
We haven't done one since 2021?
No,
Are
we've
you
actually
sure?
operated under the 5-year capital improvement plan on that one. Sanitation was in fiscal year 22.
It seems like we've
Sorry.
done one.
Sorry, we did do one, but we didn't adopt a full Prop 218 process, but we did affirm the domestic rates. I believe it was 2024 when we did
Correct,
that study.
correct.
You are correct. Yes.
Okay, so we still have to have one in 2027, or we can go to 2029?
We need to have a new domestic cost of service study in order to have a new Prop 218 hearing and incorporate lots of the fluctuating items such as chromium 6 compliance is not included in the 2021 study.
Correct. But are we gonna, okay, I just don't wanna, we may not have enough information by then, or do you think we will have enough information to do?
We should.
We should.
We should.
But if we don't, then shouldn't we do the cost of service study in 2028 if we don't have enough information?
If we don't, we could delay it. We could also do an additional one or update it based on the new information that we receive.
I would suggest that
Yes.
we delay it for a year if we don't have enough information, instead of having to do it one in 2027 and then have to do another one. It's very costly. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, we have spoken with legal counsel about this, and there are a couple other issues that will need to be attended to besides the Chrome 6.
Right. No, I know we have a couple of things. I just don't want to put them in there if they're not going to happen in the next 5 years and
Fair
have
point.
this hysteria. Okay.
Fair point.
Yeah, I apologize for the confusion on that one. So yeah, since we didn't actually have the hearing on that, we had that listed. That was the last time we went through the whole Prop 218 process. So for sanitation, that was in 2022. We haven't done an additional study for that one. For the canal rates, the board adopted rates last August under the new cost of service study for fiscal year 27. The board direction at this point is to hold those rates as they were. So summary of any expenditure changes since March 17th. This table just shows you some of the in and outs. We've had some additional information on the water purchase side of it. So we've adjusted the budget accordingly. So since that study session, we determined there was going to be no Roseville Rio Bravo water this year. So we reduced that expense by $8.1 million. There were some other state water project additions and deletions. So that totaled $5.2 million. On the capital side, we had 2 projects that came in with matching, or at least offset with anticipated funding. So the Aces Garden Sewer Consolidation Project, there's an offset of $3 million for anticipated grant funding for that project. The Irrigation Lateral Project, $1.8 million increase, but those the offset for that will be $1.8 million in USBR loan proceeds for those irrigation lateral projects. The Warp 7 prefabrication building was put in for an increase of $625, and then the O2 pump station connection for an additional $221. And then there's some other general allocation type projects on there. So an additional allocation to the retirement pension fund to increase that full amount to $5 million should the board choose later in FY27 to do that contribution. And then there were some just additional election legal and professional changes that totaled about $81,000 on that. So the net impact is about a $3.3 million increase with about $4.8 million in offsetting funding. So just wanted to present that for the changes. This is the slide that began at the February 17th study session. So we wanted to just give a highlight of where the CIP ended per fund for the engineering slide that we have. The original proposed CIP was $206 million. The final one for the adoption today would be at 196, 394, 547. And then this chart gives just a summary overall of the different operating expenses. So what we're asking for adoption is a total budget of $569.8 million for fiscal year 27. which is about a 12.3% increase. The primary drivers for that, as you can see from the chart, is essentially a change in CIP from the revised budget of 108 million to the 196 that we're proposing adoption for fiscal year 27. The major reduction in operating expenses have to do with the 200,000 acre feet pre-purchase water that we did. So the water purchases are going down for FY27 since that was completed in FY26.
So can I just, for the benefit of our new board member, Anthony, I don't know, do you want to give the speech or should I?
Go ahead and I'll tail.
The 196 million CIP, it's a very interesting number. I mean, there's just no way. There's no way. I mean, and what happens is, I would be putting up way more of a fight if we were proposing to raise rates, but we're not proposing to raise the domestic rate. So you're not going to spend 196 million, and I'd be surprised if you spent 126 million. So there's going to be this favorable variance on this budget of a lot, 50, 60 million, maybe more. And we're going to get to the end of the year, and of course those funds, hopefully, if there's borrowing, maybe we can scale back some of the borrowing, but otherwise that money all ends up in reserves. And I know all those projects are real and they're all going to happen eventually, but we just keep pushing them forward because it's impossible to get that much done in one 12-month period of time. We did 108 million this year, which was probably the biggest number we've ever done. But I just don't.
Well, just look
don't see it's possible.
Look at the approved budget for 26, and then it got amended, and those big chunks came out of domestic and sanitation. I imagine for 27 it'll come out of domestic and sanitation also. They seem pretty inflated.
It's unsustainable at that number, and we know why it's that high. Those are a couple of years projects lumped into this year, and next year will be the same thing. But we do have a budget here, and we have to live by it. And I think we are the ratepayers expect that. So 200 million is not a number that we could afford if it wasn't years of projects put together. So I mean, we've drastically come up from when we started 10 years ago, when we were completing maybe $50 million worth of projects to
80, yeah,
or 30, and now we're 10 years later completing 100 to 110 million dollar projects. But I don't think we can afford to 200 million, and we won't spend that. Just what John's trying to explain.
Even if we had the, I think we have the money. It just doesn't seem like we've ever hit that high. I mean, maybe
not even close.
I mean, maybe these are just the same amount of projects, just larger, Jim. Is that?
Well, I mean, if you look at the chart, domestic is about 17 million more than it was the amended budget from last year. That's not necessarily that significant. Canal doesn't appear to be that much more, nor does the East Replenishment. But you've got 33 million just in stormwater, right? That's a big chunk of the growth. Another big chunk, 9 million, is in West Replenishment. And then you've got 20-some million in sanitation. Those are not the areas that the board has been concerned about. The board's been concerned about primarily domestic. And yes, there is growth in domestic, but there are also some pretty large challenges that we have in domestic. Sanitation, canal, or sanitation, West Replenishment, and stormwater haven't really been much of a problem for the board. So I understand the recurring concern that the board has about the rising CIP, but it's not necessarily in the area that the board has traditionally been focused on. Correct?
Well, eventually the stormwater, we're going to run out of money, and it's very hard to collect more, right?
No argument there, but there are projects.
That's what's going to happen here, okay?
There are projects that need to be done.
Eventually, we're going to get to a point to where we've stopped hooking up golf courses because we don't have any more. We don't either have any more non-potable water, or we don't have enough canal water, right? Okay, so those things will slow down.
Agreed.
Anyways, yeah, I think it's palatable. I just know we're going to get to March or whatever, and we're going to do a revision on it. That,
Well, that'll be the challenge to the new director of engineering.
well, I mean, there's the other. I didn't want to say anything, but yeah, it's going to be, there's always a
And then with the chromium 6 and
Yes.
the
burn-in
PFAS,
time, a
Yes.
learning curve.
Yes.
Not even in
chromium
there.
6 and the PFAS coming up, I mean, it's going to really puts a chokehold around the district to lower some of our CIP projects, some of our proposal for the next 5 years. Not get rid of them all, but maybe stretch them out over maybe 8 or 10 years so we can have a soft landing on these rates that are going to have to come up on because of the chromium 6 and PFAS. That's what I'm thinking.
Anyways,
Okay.
I'm not going to place bets because I don't want to trivialize it. If Peter were here, I might bet him, but he wouldn't take the bet. We'd be agreeing to this. All right. So anything else? You have a little more, right, David?
Well, that's basically the information we have, unless you
that's
want
it.
any additional
Okay.
details on the materials we have. But the resolution does contain the full fund. So we do adopt the budget here at the district as a district, and then also by fund. And then we try and be proactive, as you mentioned too, when we are aware of budget changes. We bring those budget amendments forth, whether those are reductions or increases throughout the year. And so that is what you're looking at here for the FY26. It's the amended budget with the budget amendments that have happened throughout the year, and then projections right now based on where we're expecting to end the year with about 9 to 10 months of the financials fully done. We'll be back with our Q4 report probably in September to go ahead and look at where the year ends and then basically adjust any of the revisions and things too. So it really is a proactive look that we do look at this. We basically did show the 5-year forecast through our study sessions. So we do try and manage that as those costs change
Right.
to make sure that rates are set with appropriate future needs at this point. So
Yeah. And I did say I think the numbers are all real. Just
Yeah, we're expecting
Yeah.
we're gonna
Just
hit
never-
120.
just
That's
never
what we're
gonna get there.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll bet you 120.
Ambitious. It's an ambitious budget. So we need to adopt this, right?
that would be the
helpful.
requested action.
I'm gonna make a motion. Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion to adopt. Yeah, I'd be really surprised if we get close to the 196. I think with that in mind, Anthony, the money stays in there, so it won't get spent. So I'm motion to approve.
Second.
Yeah, and I would say, let's be judicious about our borrowing too, because when we have cash reserves of 700 million or something like that. It's a big number. Okay, and I know that we have an item coming up where stormwater is going to help do an interfund
Right.
loan. So,
And if
so
with
that's
borrowings
that's an
too.
example of what I'm talking
Right, and with the forecast that we'll be looking at, so there are potentially some scheduled debt issuances in the future. What we've tried to do is look
Right.
at those needs, if those expenditures are coming, and try and
Right.
strategically put
No,
that
I know.
together.
I know
So,
you do.
yeah.
I know. Okay, good. I think overall it's been a very good process. You guys are really doing a great job.
We're just not spending enough money.
No. When I look at the budget variance like this one, right, the 26 actual was, it's going in the right. You don't want to overshoot, So we're going. Our variances are in the right direction, so that's okay.
Much happier to tell you we're under budget.
I
than-
know. Yeah, you get that.
It's not as
figured out.
pleasant a conversation the other way.
All right. Any other discussion before we vote? Did we lose Anthony?
Yeah, he's on a call.
Take a call.
I think he should vote on this.
Or not.
I don't know how long he's gonna take.
Doesn't really. I mean, it's not going to affect the vote. I don't
No.
think. All right. Why don't we go? Did he say go ahead without him?
No.
I didn't see him leave.
You want to give him? You want to give him a minute?
Yeah, so he doesn't have to vote.
Maybe it was on purpose.
All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and vote? We have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed 4-0 with one out of the room. What happened? Okay. Let's keep moving.
Thanks, David.
My kids are
Thank you.
traveling through London right now. Okay, so this is what I was suggesting with being prudent.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it.
This is exactly what we're doing today with this item.
Okay, go ahead.
If you recall, the board agenda item includes background on this. On May 13th, 2025, the board did approve a third agreement for the delivery and exchange agreement with Metropolitan Water District for the advancement of 200,000 acre feet of pre-delivered state water project water. And then on June 17th, we presented the board with 3 different options for an interfund loan from the Stormwater Fund to the West Replenishment. We selected one of those options during that meeting that the board felt was the most favorable. And then we adopted that resolution for that interfund loan last year around the same time, June 24th, 2025. Metropolitan bills once a year in June for the water that is delivered. Not we thought at the time when we set up this loan that they were going to bill us for the full amount up front for cash flow purposes. They didn't. We paid the bill last year with reserve funding and on cash funding that we had for the West Replenishment, and we didn't have to trigger this interfund loan. So since we didn't trigger it, we are reestablishing it, and we do need to trigger it this June because we are expecting a bill, and we were notified by Robert and Petra that the bill is about $75 million. That would be the final payment. We'll be making that payment in July for this fiscal year. And so with that, we would be triggering that interfund loan. And so that delaying it by that 1 year also has a savings of about $212,000 of interest that we would have otherwise paid. And to your point, President Powell, we didn't do that because we didn't need it. We were able to cover it. And so then we have savings. So the structure of the loan is the same. It's just now being fulfilled as anticipated
So
1 year later.
You're going to book that into the current fiscal year, but we don't pay it till July?
We pay, yes, that is correct. Yes. Okay. So all invoices and deliveries through June 30th, we pay invoices through the end of July, but we do book them to the prior fiscal year. Correct.
Okay.
And Sylvia did hand out, an amended budget resolution. The one that was included in the BAI was for our consent calendar item for our third quarter budget report. So that was an error. But this is the amount that I referenced earlier that we are anticipating to pay. We want to always avoid large variances, budget to actuals, because it is an audit finding and disclosure if we do. And so that's why David was just mentioning we actively monitor the budget on an ongoing basis, and we do bring forth amendments as necessary to cover cost, whether it's a reduction or an increase.
Okay, well, I would move approval of the budget amendment resolution authorizing the amendment for fiscal year 25-26. And the resolution number on here is 25-26. Shouldn't it be 26?
It should be 26. It should be
26.
2026-26, yes.
Yeah. 2026-26. Move approval.
Oh, yeah. I'll second that motion. Good. So any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Passed 4-0 with 1 absent. Thanks, Carla. Next, this is the GAN appropriations limit. David, again?
Again.
Aye.
So we're switching fiscal years again. So we went from 27 to 26 to now 27 again. But this is the requirement we have each year for the GAN appropriations limit for property taxes. This is a requirement by the state and needs to be noticed 15 days prior to the meeting that it's presented at. So we did have this on our website on May 28th. This has been reviewed also by the auditors this year as well. So they reviewed our calculations and had no comments. according to the calculations, we have a total appropriation limit of 75.188 million, and we will be basically budgeting the amount that was described in the budget that was just adopted. So the $72.8 million. I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Nope. Is there a motion to approve 9G?
I'll move the item.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Passed 4-0. All right.
Thanks, David.
Who's up? Scott? Blanca? Good morning. Go ahead. 9H.
My name is Blanca Garcia. I'm the senior HR analyst. My primary focus is in risk management, which includes claims and insurance. And this morning, I'm going to be requesting authorization for the general manager to secure the property and liability coverage for fiscal year 2026-2027 through our broker, Alliance Services Insurance, in the amount of $4,587,704, which includes a 2.5 contingency. Also, we are requesting authorization to select alternative carriers, and in the event that any of the carriers amend or withdraw their quotes before the July 1st deadline. I do want to note that we received communication from Aegis late last week about the continuity credit in the amount of $110,770, and that will directly reduce the final amount by of the premium when we get the invoice. This is split between the three policies covered by Aegis, which is the workers' comp, public officials, and the excess liability. So with that said, I can answer any questions, comments.
I do have a question. I don't have a question on the actual quotes themselves, but I have a question about the fee to Alliant.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like we have a 3-year contract with a fixed premium each year.
Yes.
But we're at the end of that contract and there's a 2-year option.
Yes.
So how do we price the fee for those 2 years? Is that to be negotiated? Is that going to be the
I
same?
think that's already established in the professional services agreements that we went into.
I'm sorry?
It's already been established, the premium for the next 2 years.
And is that the same, 60,000?
I believe so.
What is the fee for those 2 additional option years?
We have Alliance here, so is it 60,000?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
She says she
I'm old
believes
and
that
I
it is
can't hear,
60,000.
so what was the answer?
It is 60,000, but she has to check.
Okay, so for the 2 option years, it's 60,000 fixed. It's no increase.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Okay. Is that the end of your presentation?
That is it.
Okay. We're on 9H. Anthony. Is there a motion to approve 9H?
I will move approval
Okay.
of 9H.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Pass 5-0.
Thanks, Blanca.
Thank you. Written communications, we have the log with, I think, 5 different items on it. Look like they're being dealt with properly. Next is the 2 information presentations regarding these bid and RFP processes. And I see that we have these nice, neat packages here. We can probably go through these fairly quickly, I'm sure, right?
Well, we'll do our best. Good morning, Board. Kim Baker,
Morning.
Procurement Supervisor for the district. and we're going to cover two protests that we've received today. Actually, it's three, but two for two items. And I first wanted to start by thanking you for allowing us to walk through this today. I think it's really important for the district that, you know, all participants in our process feel like the process is fair and transparent. That's super important to me and to my team. But protests are allowed in all of our solicitations so that if a vendor does find fault in how the process is being conducted, they have a remedy or a way to handle that particular concern. So we're going to walk through that today. I'm going to give you a little bit of information about our procurement policies and what the documents say and why it's important to follow the process in a certain way so that we can get really good, accurate information for the board before you have to make any kind of decisions on our awards. So for the first one, this is about some water trucks. We're doing our contracts again, renewing our contracts for our water truck services that are provided to the district. And these water trucks are very important to our operations. We use 13 trucks per day, as you'll see on the slide. So what I'm going to do in both scenarios, both this and the security, I'm going to take you from the past into the present. And the reason why I'm doing that today is because the past will show you that there's not really a lot of things that have changed in the way we've done things this time. It's just that businesses have lost business in this process. And so really, I believe that's what their main concern is the loss of business, not really the process or what we went through or how we did things, but the fact that they've lost business, so they naturally have a reason to be upset, right? So in the past, when this was done in 2021, which is the last time, pretty much it was handled in very much the same manner. But at that particular point in time, there were 6 contracts awarded. So basically there were 6 bidders and there were 6 contracts. There was no reason for anybody to be upset because everybody won. And the reason why there were 6 contracts is because at that point in time, the bidders had fewer trucks. So they had an average of about 2 trucks each. So it took, since we need 13 a day, it took every single bidder that participated to actually meet the operational needs. So those 6 contracts are expiring at the end of June. So that's why we're here, because we went out for bids in time to have new contracts in place so that we could start up services again in July. So in the past, the other thing that occurred was that there was a 25-cent difference between bidders 1 and 2 and bidders 2 and 3, but they were different bidders. As a matter of fact, the bidders that had these 25-cent price differences are 2 of the bidders that have filed the protest. And that's been kind of become important because you're going to see that's what a lot of the protest is based upon, is this very close 25-cent difference in the bids today. But the same thing occurred in the past. The bidders that are protesting were in 2nd and 3rd place formerly. Now, it's also might be a little confusing to you, so I want to make sure I explain something, that although we do this big formal bid every 5 years, because the contract is structured as a 1-year contract with 4 one-year options, every time you go into an option year, you've got to ask them if they're going to hold their price or if their prices are going to increase. Okay. Now, we had a bidder that became upset several years ago before I got here because they felt like by asking them about that and us having that information, that we would potentially be able to disclose that information to the other bidders and give the other bidders an unfair advantage. So what we decided to do, or what they decided to do, the district decided to do before I arrived, is they would go ahead and put that back out on Planet Bids in a closed bid, meaning just to the 6 who had the contracts, because by rights, these options go to those 6, and they would bid again amongst each other in a closed system, so nobody could see anybody's numbers, and then it became a fruit basket turnover. So every time you reopened the pricing again, the person that was on number 1 spot might be in number 6 spot now, and so forth and so on. So they shuffled around. Each year as they priced out, there was a shuffle of who was in first place. Now, the reason why that's important is because they call them in order of low to high out to the sites, okay? So the lowest one is always pretty much guaranteed they're going to have work for their trucks because they're going to be the first one called, and then it goes down the list. And that saves the district money, obviously, by doing that. So again, really no different in how things were conducted in the past or how they were conducted today. No difference in the differentiation in the pricing. So I just thought it was very important for you to note that. So if you just take a quick look at the prices from before, you will see, you know, the lineup here. Valley Water Trucks was the lowest bidder in 2021. Nathan's Dust Control was second, and Desert Rain was third. And you'll see a 25-cent difference between bidder 1 and 2, and a 25-cent difference between bidder 2 and 3, a 50-cent difference between 3 and 4, and so forth and so on. So you can see they bid fairly tight with each other. Okay? Same 6 companies.
These 6 companies are the exact 6 that we are going to be considering?
That's correct. Okay. Sorry, I'm pushing the button too many times and I've gotten too far ahead of myself. Just a little delay, sorry, on the response to the button push. So now we're going to go to the present. So the current proposed contracts that we were bringing forward, there were only going to be 3. And the reason why there were going to be only 3 is because the bidders, they've gotten pretty savvy over all these years, and they figured out if they go get more trucks, they can, and give us a better price, they can have a better shot at being busy every day. So 2 of the bidders now have 6 trucks each. So that means we only need 13, and they're providing 12. So that only leaves a spot for 3 players now instead of 6. If we go with only 13 trucks a day, which is what our need is. The current bid result difference between bidders 1 and 2 is 25 cents, just like it was before. The 2 lowest prices reflect an increase of 50 cents per hour from before. And the 3rd lowest bidder is a $3 an hour increase from before. And I'm comparing it back to 2021. Remember, there's a fruit basket turnover and the prices change every year. So I'm just comparing to the previous bid, formal bid time. The 3rd place bidder submitted a protest alleging collusion between 2 of the 2 lowest bidders. And this was done before a notice of award was even sent out. And why is that important? Because the notice of award is what starts the clock on the protest. So until you know who's being recommended for award, there's no need for a protest. But this protest occurred before the letters even went out. The 6th place bidder submitted a protest just very recently, alleging collusion also, and also alleged that one of the bidders, Pedro Ochoa, did not exist, although he's been providing services here for a very long time. And if you look at the next slide, you'll see that these are the current bids that we have, and we've got some pretty substantial savings from where we are with rates today. So we have the lowest bidder, Pedro Ochoa, who operates a business, Coachella Valley Erosion Control, at $75 an hour, and Valley Water Trucks at $75.25 an hour, and Desert Rain at $78 an hour. And these are very, very good prices for the district. So we were very happy to see that. So the next slide, I just wanted to go over a little bit of procurement knowledge about the difference between bids and proposals. And the reason why I'm doing that here is because this is all about bids. And the next item we go over for security is all about proposals. So it's really important to understand that there's a difference between these two. And we're also going to go over a little procurement policy about how the communication should flow so that this works properly. So in the context of procurement, there's a major difference between RFBs, bids, and RFPs, proposals. Bids, staff analyzes the bids based on the lowest cost provided. Bids are deemed responsive. You've heard this term earlier today. If they comply with all the RFB requirements, if you do everything the RFB requires, you're responsive. They're responsible if they have the ability, capacity, and qualifications necessary to perform the work. And those are the three principles you look at on a bid: lowest cost, responsive, responsible. If you meet all three of those, you're good to go. So cost is really the deciding factor, with all things being equal, right? Considering they're all responsive and they're all responsible. So then RFPs are very different from that, and they're based on best value, and they consider a multitude of factors, not just price. So such things as the experience of the firm, the experience of the staff, their ability to provide the services or understanding and ability to provide the services, their references, and their price is also considered, but it is just one of the factors. Okay?
So who decides if it's one or the other?
It's done combination of the requesting department and the procurement department. We talk about what the best method is for the particular service that's needing to be provided. If it's the scope is very straightforward and you can get a very clear apples to apples price, you'll typically go the route of a bid. It's easier, quicker, faster, and it gives us the lowest bang for the buck. But if it's more complex, and you really need to look at their approach to the work, you need to look at the firm's capabilities, the staff's capabilities, and whether they can actually perform the work or not, then you're going to go in the RFP route and get proposals on that. And that's generally for more professional type services, not trade type services. So that's when you typically make that decision. But we discussed it with the operating department, and we make the decision that's in the best interest of the district when we make that determination.
Because we outline what the proposal is supposed to have.
Correct.
Right? And then they bid on what we ask them to do. So they're bidding saying, I can complete the tasks that you're asking me to do, every single one of them, correct? They're bidding saying that this is what I bid on and this is what I'm going to say I'm going to do because this is what you've asked for.
So in a bid, it's very straightforward. The scope is very clear. You're going to do these things, X, Y, and Z. We outline it for them. But in a proposal, they're given some latitude. We're telling them, this is what we want to achieve. Now, how are you going to get us there? And so they're outlining their approach to you and the approach they're going to take to get you there. And so one company may have a much better approach than another company. One may have better staff than another company. One company may have a lot more experience than another company. So there are just a lot of variables when you're looking at proposals that don't come into play when you look at bids. So everything we're talking about in this first protest is a bid. It's a very basic service. We can clearly describe what's needed, and we don't really need to delve in very deeply into their qualifications to operate a water truck, right? They need to have the proper license and so forth, and that's about it, okay? So another very important concept to follow is a structured path for communication when somebody feels like something's wrong. And if we allow firms to jump the process, it creates costly delays and the unnecessary use of staff time and often overcomplicates the issues at hand. So, and that's why we have in both of these cases, and that's why we're bringing it up. So in the RFB for the water trucks, in both of these sections, Section 22 and Section 27 of that particular solicitation, it clearly tells the bidders, do not contact anybody outside of this procurement process. It's all to stay, to keep the integrity of the procurement process pure. You're not supposed to have any outside communications about the process. So what do they do if they have a problem? They're supposed to submit a protest to me, and then I have an obligation to do a very thorough investigation to find out if there's any wrongdoing. And then if there is any wrongdoing, I would stop the process right then and there. And we would start it over again. I'd apologize to that particular bidder, thank them for bringing that to our attention, and we would start it over. If I didn't find anything wrong, I would give them a response back. If they did not believe that I had acted in good faith or that I had really looked at everything as closely as they felt like I should have, then they have the right to take it to the general manager to Jim and have him, from a different perspective, look into it and see if he believes that me and my staff have actually followed the process correctly. And then he would make that determination, and then he would have that available, both our determinations available for the board to review. So, and he could direct me and say, hey, Kim, I don't think you guys followed the process. I want you to start this over. And that's what we would do. Okay. So in both cases, unfortunately, this case and the other case, the process kind of got out of the box too early. And you'll see a little bit more about that on the next few slides. And it's just very important that we keep it this way because you're the decision makers, right? So you really, at the end of the day, are making the decision, but you need to be able to make the decision with all of the correct information, not just bits and sound bites of information. So what happened in this particular case with the communication is Desert Rain Water Truck Services. The protest was received Friday, May 22nd, late in the afternoon. I got it about 4 o'clock, which is the time I was supposed to be going home. And I stayed a little while that afternoon reading over it, making sure I was prepared to handle it as soon as I got back to work. Monday was a holiday. That was the 25th. It was Memorial Day. So on the 26th, I came in and laying on top of my desk, I was ready to dig in and really start reviewing the allegations that had been made, specifically about collusion, because it required me to really dig into the company's structure. So I needed to really pull out their partnership agreements and their structure and see what was going on. So I wanted to listen to the board meeting on the 27th, on Wednesday, because Carla had some things going to the board and I wanted to listen to what was happening. Turned on the screen a little too late, and all of a sudden I hear 2 protesters here at the board meeting. I'm like, what is going on, right? We haven't even started looking into this. And then we provided a response on June 9th to the protests. So then the next event that happened was Nathan's Dust Control did follow the process in the sense that he waited till the letters were sent out and then he filed his protest in a timely manner. His protest was reviewed Friday, June 12th. I was out of the office, so fortunately Carla handled that for me with legal. And then on June 16th, the staff provided a response. So in both cases, there was ex parte communications that shouldn't have happened in these particular processes, and I won't belabor that point anymore. So let's take a look at the protest on the water trucks. So again, Desert Rain Water Truck Services and Nathan's Dust Control submitted protests alleging that the 2 bidders were collusive in nature. The protesters pointed out the following conclusive evidence of their allegations of collusion. And what they presented was that the 2 lowest bidders were submitted by companies that are owned by brothers. They are independent companies of each other. The bids were very close in price, as we've seen, 25-cent difference, same as it was before. And the bids were very low in comparison to other bids, and they just didn't understand how they could possibly provide the services at that particular cost. And that's understandable because fuel and insurance obviously go up and up and up. So there's, a concern. I had the same concern about them being able to provide the service. So the first thing I did before these protests ever came in was I asked for my staff to go get statements from both of these firms that they understood that they were now going to be on the hook to the district to provide 6 water trucks each, which is the bulk of our services, for those prices. And I had them provide written statements that not only do they agree to that, but that they would give us first priority on those trucks. In other words, I don't want them sending their trucks somewhere else where they can make more money when they've committed to us that they're going to give us 6 trucks for our services. And I got written statements from both of these companies that they will do just that for the price provided. So both firms that are in question provided non-collusion certifications under penalty and perjury of law, attesting that the bids were submitted were not collusive or sham bids, and that was required by the bid protest. And we have both of those in our files. Both firms are partnerships. They're operating as DBAs, registered with the county, and established at very different times. Both firms have partnership agreements that we have examined, and there are no joint partners between the two firms. And I even looked at their addresses to see if they live together or any type of arrangement, and there's no overlap that I can find. Both firms have confirmed they can perform the work at the process bid and have the necessary equipment that will be dedicated to the district's work. As such, we would recommend that we reject the protest related to the collusion, and that we allow that the awards to be made. Now, I want to make a note.
Kim, I think you need to do a thing.
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry. I get ahead of myself here. It's all right. It's just delayed. Okay. I want to make a note here at the very end where we say 6 trucks, to Pedro Ochoa, Coachella Valley Water Erosion Control, 6 trucks to Valley Water, and 1 to Desert Rain. Now, what happens is they would all 3 of these companies would get contracts. Desert Rain wouldn't necessarily be limited to 1. There would be an expectation we would be using 1 of their trucks, but should one of the first 2 bidders not be able to provide a truck, let's say a truck breaks down, then we would be asking Desert Rain to provide that truck, because the other one's maxed out at 6. 6 is the max they can provide. So the third bidder would pick up that additional work. Okay, so he's not, even though we say 1, that just means that just gets us to our operational need. It doesn't mean he would be limited to just 1. So we should be clear about that. Okay, so there was one additional allegation that was made by Nathan's Dust Control, and perfectly understandable that he could not find a fictitious business name, Pedro Ochoa. So what has happened is Pedro Ochoa started out as a sole proprietor, and when he signed up for Planet Bids, he signed up under his name. Over time, he established a business. He has a DBA, and he operates under that DBA. He needs to go into Planet Bids eventually, and that would be my recommendation to him, and he needs to change his bidding name to his company name. However, as you'll see on the next slide, all of his documents that he provides clearly show that he is registered as Coachella Valley Erosion Control as a business. I've checked that fictitious name filing, and it clearly shows that he is the owner and operator of that business as a partnership. His public works registration documents also show him operating under the same name, Coachella Valley Erosion Control. The partnership shows him listed as a primary partner in that particular business. All present contracts are with Coachella Valley Erosion Control, as would any future contracts be with that entity. So there's no confusion on our part that who we're doing business with. But I can certainly understand why that concern was raised, and we had looked into it as well. But there is really no merit to that particular item. So that's all of the information I have on the water trucks for you today. And so I'm at the point where I want to just make sure I've answered all your questions and see if there's anything else that you have that you would like information on before we get off of this subject.
Kim, I guess just for clarification,
Yes.
The next step in beyond providing the information here is hopefully to get some questions from the board, recognizing that we will be asking for an award of these services in the July 14th meeting.
Correct.
And nothing will have changed
Correct.
based on what has already happened.
Correct. And it's very important because we had to extend the contracts just to get to this point. We've had to go out and extend all 6 contracts until we can get this decision made. But we will be back on the 14th asking for these awards to the 3 companies.
And then if I can, just for the record, I do have some speaker cards. We do have individuals requesting to speak on this topic. So once your presentation is done, and
Yes.
the board can elect either to ask questions first or hear from the members of the public first, whatever the board wishes.
Is the speaker specific to the water trucks?
Yes, I have 2 speakers specific to the water truck, and then we may have an additional one if he didn't
Can I
submit
just
a
make a
card.
comment real quick before we bring up the speakers? So the only question I have is how did we get to the going from the 4 trucks to the 6 trucks? Was there any particular reason why we went in that direction? What made us do that?
Well, I got to digging into that more because we were all under the assumption that we had a 4 truck limit in the past. We had talked about that internally. When we developed the solicitation, we thought we were changing it from 4 to 6. It was actually always 6 trucks in the past as well. It's just that none of the bidders had that many trucks to operate off of. But the 6 trucks were actually the requirement for 2021 as well. It just didn't become an issue because nobody had 6 trucks. So definitely, you're right. You're onto something that the 6 trucks, once, with that limit, once a bidder has 6 trucks, that's almost half of what's needed.
I'm operationally, would you say that if we could go with one contractor that had all trucks, that would
Yes.
that would be preferred? And
Well, that's how I would have done it if I had been here, in the beginning. But my understanding is they didn't really want to put all their eggs in one basket. They wanted to have some ability that should that vendor not be able to provide all the trucks, there was a backup plan. And that's what I said. I would do a primary and a secondary.
Yeah,
if
and that
I had
makes
it.
sense. I'm just trying to get a sense of why we went from 4 to 6, and then are we really having an issue with finding contractors out there with trucks, or
Right.
A lot of them are small.
We had 6 on the 2021. It's just nobody has 14 water
Yeah,
trucks,
Right.
that's
water
understood.
trucks in the valley. So typically we have 3 or 4 contractors, and again we need 12 every day, 13 on several days. And just because you have 6 contracted doesn't mean that one breaks down, we go to the next one down the list. But we've always had 6 max, and nobody's ever had 13 water trucks to bid it by themselves. So that's
All
the
right,
situation.
thank you. Appreciate
We
that.
hear they're very expensive to maintain, and so it's it's not as simple as I guess it sounds.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Ready for our speakers?
Speaker.
Okay. The first one I have is Adriana Ochoa. And you'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Adriana. I am responsible for maintaining everything for Coachella Valley Erosion Control. And as the individual that has been responsible for maintaining and managing our company documentation and compliance records for the past almost 20 years, I can confidently state that we have always operated with integrity, transparency, and full compliance with our requirements. These allegations are not only upsetting to me personally, but they are also indirectly question to the professionalism and diligence of the Coachella Valley District employees who have consistently reviewed and maintained records throughout the years. The district has always exercised proper oversight, and we have never had any issues regarding our documentation, qualifications, or even compliance. For more than almost 2 decades, our mission has been simple: provide reliable service, keep the water district satisfied, and help maintain projects stay within budget. Our rates have historically ranged between approximately $74 and $78 for the past almost 2 decades. Always with the goal of offering competitive pricing that benefits the district and its taxpayers. Any adjustment to our pricing have been made independently and based on market conditions, operational costs, and our long-standing commitment is to provide value. Throughout our relationship with the Water District, we have consistently placed their needs first. We have accepted assignments others would not, traveled where needed, and remained committed to delivering dependable service. Our focus has never been on competitors. It had always been to serving the district professionally and efficiently. Therefore, I strongly disagree with and do not appreciate the accusations made after the almost 2 decades of dedicated service, a proven track record, and a history of compliance. It is disappointing to see our integrity questioned without evidence. We remain proud of the work we have performed and the professional relationship we have built with Coachella Valley District with almost 2 decades. I do have all my documentation here. So. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Nathan Morris.
Hi, my name is Nathan Morris, owner of Nathan's Dust Control, one of the people that submitted a protest. Getting down to the Pedro Ochoa as the entity, the district awarded or intended to award to Pedro Ochoa, not to Coachella Valley Erosion Control. So with that in mind, if they already know doing business with them in the past, why didn't they award it to Coachella Valley Erosion Control? If this is an informal bid, okay, then we could all just, put our regular name, Nathan Morris. When the district replied to me and gave me different reasons, they responded to me as Nathan's Dust Control. They didn't respond to me as Nathan Morris. So with that bid is to Pedro Ochoa, not to Coachella Valley Erosion Control. So that's the part where I want to be looked into. And as part of the bid packet, it states if you make a mistake through Planet Bid, that is the contractor's responsibility, not the district's, to correct. Now, they haven't corrected it in however many years they've been in business with the district, which has been over 10 years. Why haven't they fixed it? So with that, that's that part of the, my protest is that contract should never be awarded to Pedro or to Coachella Valley Erosion Control. Now, if Pedro Ochoa is the registered business, then okay. But it's not. Pedro Ochoa is not the registered business. It's Coachella Valley Erosion Control. So with that, I would like you guys to look into that part of my protest. Now, the collusion, okay, I don't have something on record or recorded to show that the two brothers are together. If Pedro Ochoa had 13 trucks of his own, he would have submitted 13 trucks. But between the two of them, I'm pretty sure that there's conversations, but I can't prove that part. But there's other accusations that I got that I would like to submit, not regarding this bid, but conflict of interest between supervisors and contractors with this bid in particular and previous bids. And I don't know how I go about sending that information. I emailed Scott Hunter. He emailed me back, not understanding what I was trying to get at. I just want to know the professional way of submitting my complaint as far as my conflict of interest between a supervisor and a contractor. And I have proof of outside hanging out, drinking, partying with such and such contractors. So, I would like something.
Mr. Morris, you can send it to me and I'll channel it to the right place.
Okay. Through email, the video, everything.
Whatever you have.
Okay. And so that was my other. And then on this contract that is still open, I would also like, because I emailed Cindy Romero regarding this part, the Stormwater hired a contractor that was previously on the bid, but he didn't do the extension. So the district hired him back.
Yeah, we're out of time. Can you just put that in?
Yeah, no, it's all.
Put it all in there. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, with the email to you, Jim?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And those are the only two speaker cards I had. If there's others on this topic, you may come up at this time. Okay, doesn't appear.
Does not appear.
All right, so.
Any questions from the board on water trucks? Shall we move on?
All right, Kim. Let's move on.
Next. Load up the next one.
Just so you know, we spent 35 minutes on that one topic. If we could try to move this along, I would appreciate it.
Okay. So the next item we're going to talk about is a protest related to the security services RFP that we had put out recently. And again, now we're transitioning from a lowest bid type procurement to a best value solicitation. So again, I'm starting with the past, as I did before. The previous solicitation followed a very similar structure to the solicitation that we've done currently. The addenda, which are the main thing that's in question here, were issued in the same manner that included changes to the RFP, questions and answers, and a new cost proposal form. The only big difference was the extra work that is in the solicitation was not priced as part of the process of the evaluation in the past, and rates were not set by the contract, resulting in higher prices for this work than was necessary. So that was the only change we made, was we actually put the extra work, we actually did the due diligence, estimated the hours that we would need and put that in, and actually made it part of the evaluation and had those rates actually be held through the contract, so that we know we have some price certainty on what we're paying for the extra work. So other than this extra work, there was really no change to the solicitation that was made from what was done before. And in the past, just for your reference, 6 firms submitted their proposals. So the present, it was again a request for proposal best value method, which meant multiple factors were used in the scoring. The RFP was publicly published on the eBid system, Planet Bids, and a virtual pre-proposal conference or meeting was held to educate the bidders or the proposers. Responsive proposals were scored by an evaluation panel made up of staff that managed the security for the district, so very knowledgeable about how it all works. Proposals were evaluated on the factors outlined and published in the RFP, which included the firm's experience, the key staff experience, the scope, understanding, and cost, and references. Okay. Although that a virtual pre-proposal meeting was held, and the team did a very good job on educating the firms about how to submit successfully, only 11 of the 25 firms that participated actually took advantage of that opportunity to attend that meeting. Addendum 1 was issued, which made some minor changes to the RFP, corrected some typos and stuff, revised the price sheets to include that extra work that we talked about earlier, and then answered all of the questions that the proposers had submitted in the process. Then very late in the game, a bidder found a duplicate line item on the price sheets. And they reached out and said, hey, there's a duplicate line item. They know that they have to fill in every line item, so they didn't want to do anything wrong. And they said, what do we do? So we issued a quick addendum so that all proposers would have the same information. So just fill it in. We'll take it out later, but just so nobody has to worry about it, just fill it in. So 25% proposals were received by the deadline. And we were really excited about that. We'd never seen that type of participation before. But unfortunately, many were severely lacking and deficient. Some of them lacked technical proposals altogether. Some of them were missing price proposal parts. Some of them had recreated the price proposal on their own forms, leaving out critical information. Some even changed the units of measurement from hours to maybe stops and things like that were not even what we asked for. So 9 proposals appeared to be complete, and they were forwarded to the evaluation panel for evaluation. The evaluation panel found that 3 of them did not meet the minimum requirements outlined in the RFP, which revolved around the number of years required to be in business as a security provider and having the required licenses provided in their proposal to show that they can operate as a security company. That left 6 in the running, same as we had in the past. The highest scoring proposer, Absolute International Security, was determined to be the highest scoring, and it's the one we will be recommending for award, and they had an absolutely outstanding proposal. Communications, again, we've gone through this, so I won't go through it all again, but basically the proposers are told in the documents not to have any ex parte communications, which actually occurred in this particular situation as well. So let's go through the protest, because there were 5 elements. So I'll try to get through these fairly quickly that were outlined in the protest. The first one, they protested that they didn't like the addendum formatting that we used. They felt like that we should have separated the questions and answers from the actual changes to the RFP. That's not standard practice. So we'll address that in a little while. The timeline of the communications and late notice, and what they're referring to as the second addendum there. The technical hardship that they had on their side, the argument for immateriality and validity of the items in question, and then basically they're asking us to waive the irregularities, which is the price proposal. So looking at each one, the addendum formatting, Addendum 1 clearly stated on page 3, and you've been provided a copy of that addendum, that the cost proposal form had been revised and the previous cost proposal form had been replaced in its entirety. The price proposal form was attached to the back of that addendum, complete. This type of formatting is very common in the addendum world. It's not governed by policy. It's consistent with how it's been handled in the past and on all other solicitations. This addendum that made this change to the pricing sheet was issued 8 days before the proposals were due. So we found no merit to the formatting of the addendum being incorrect.
Kim, can I ask a question?
You sure can.
So one of the items that I recall in the protester's letter was that one of the addendums was issued only 48 hours before it was requested.
Correct.
That put potentially them and others at a disadvantage. Can you talk about that?
Yes, that is basically this next item 2 on the timely communications. That addendum 2 was the one that just said fill in the duplicate line. That's all it said. So there really was no change to the documents. There was nothing that was hard to digest. It was just giving them instructions to fill in the duplicate line. That's all it did. So that's what they allege in the item 2 was that there was insufficient time, but indeed that's all it did was basically give them instruction to fill in that duplicate line, and it was actually addendum 2 that caused us to reach out to the particular bidder that protested, which is our incumbent. We noticed in the system, or my staff member did, who was running the solicitation, that they had not acknowledged that addendum. And when they don't acknowledge the addendum in the system, what happens is the system automatically disqualifies their bid. And we didn't want that to happen. So she had actually reached out to let them know, hey, you need to acknowledge this addendum, because if you don't, you're going to be automatically disqualified. So that's not something we're required to do, but something we did as a courtesy to our incumbent. So the proposal from the incumbent, Southwest, was submitted at 4 a.m. the day it was due. It was clear in her conversation with the gentleman that he had not reviewed the addendum. He was not even aware that there was a new price sheet that had been issued. So, and that price sheet, as a reminder, was issued 8 days before this due date. That was the only thing significant that changed. So we found no merit to this issue. Item 3, the technical hardship that the protester claimed that they experienced technical hardship in that they had intermittent lack of internet access, as well as difficulty in communicating with their own internal staff. But they admitted, which was very nice of them to do, very professional, that the reason for this difficulty was that they were at sea. They were on a boat fishing. Now, I can tell you my husband's a deep sea fisherman, and he would have done the same thing. Okay, so he's an avid fisherman. But that's what happened. He was on a boat, and he was trying to conduct this business from a boat. We do not control, when proposers submit their proposals, when they read the addenda, all we can do is try to provide them with the best information that we can and help them as much as we can to get their stuff submitted. And in this case, it just looks like there was a shift in priority that we could not control. We even attempted to assist that particular bidder or proposer as much as we possibly could, given the constraints that we have to be able to assist. The immateriality issue that was raised is they believe that the cost proposal was immaterial. And we do not believe that is the case. The cost proposal is what allows us to have an apples-apples comparison from one firm to another. So it could not be considered immaterial. An evaluation score could not have been provided by the panel without that information. So we do not see that as immaterial. The district does have the right to waive immaterial items, but we do not have an obligation to do so. Item 5 was a waiver for the immateriality. And this is the same issue as item 4. And basically what we want you to take away from this is the district has an interest in holding proposers to the same standards. And that's why you don't start to deviate from your process, because once you do, you pretty much just throw the whole process out. It causes all kinds of chaos. We do not see the cost proposal as an immaterial item. Again, the district has a discretion, but not a duty to waive these irregularities. So basically, the conclusion of this particular protest is that we had determined several proposals were non-responsive, and therefore they did not advance in the evaluation. While the board may direct the staff to waive legally waivable irregularities and reopen the evaluation process, doing so would require staff to apply that approach consistently to similarly situated proposers and would not result in an automatic award to the protester, Southwest or any other proposer. So we have a number of people that did things wrong, and so we would have to have direction from you is how far do you want us to go to cure them? If they didn't even turn in a technical proposal, do we allow them more time to do that? If they completely redid our sheets, do we let them redo them again? We had one guy that called that was late, 2 minutes late, and he said, "Can you take my proposal?" And we said, "No." Do we let him back in, right? So those are the questions that get raised when we start allowing these anomalies to occur. What would happen is if we did allow the proposers back in, we would just bring them all back, cure them all, and let them all come back into the evaluation process, which would greatly lengthen the time to get through this process and, expense. So we don't recommend that we do that. We don't think that the grounds of the protest show that we did anything wrong. We show it was just a choice that the protester made that we didn't have any control over. So we would recommend that we go full force ahead and award to Absolute International Security, who will be providing incredible service to the district. And talking to the evaluation panel, they're very happy with this decision. They feel like we need a new, fresh pair of eyes on what's going on with our security. And they were very impressed with what this firm has to offer the district. So that would be our recommendation for this particular solicitation. And we plan on bringing this solicitation back on July 14th for award. Any questions that you have about this particular process or the protests?
I just have, just to simplify, I think the request that I think we're hearing from the firm that's protesting is that they would like their proposal to be considered and evaluated. In short, that's
correct?
That's the request.
They would like to be able to submit the correct cost proposal and have us evaluate that, but we can't just do it for them, because they aren't the only one in that particular situation.
In their letter, they mentioned that the proposal that they submitted is the full cost proposal that was provided. Is that
That's not correct. They provided, what happened was they provided the original cost proposal form not the modified one that was in Addendum 2. They tried to resubmit the one that was for Addendum 2, but because he was operating from a boat, he was having to give direction to his staff who were not familiar with this process, and they were trying to submit it, and they were struggling. And he wanted us to help them, but we can't help them. They have to submit it.
That addendum that revised the cost sheet or whatever.
Yes.
Did that change the cost proposal for anybody that submitted that?
It changed it for everybody. I mean, everybody had to use that new form.
Yeah, but the amount that was submitted in the original cost proposal,
Yes.
and then they revised that there was this addendum with the revised sheet.
Mhm.
Did that change the proposal?
It
The cost
would.
propo-
It would have, yes.
The amount?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, he didn't believe that it would, and let me tell you why. Because we had an allowance. We said we had an allowance of $100,000 for the extra work, but we asked them to price it out. When they priced it out, let's say it would come up to $118,000. We asked them to put that number in the box for evaluation. But we said the district has the right, because that's extra work, to limit it to $100,000. So if somebody's pricing came up to $200,000, we weren't going to be obligated to spend $200,000. So we had a note in there that we could limit it to $100,000. That didn't mean we were going to evaluate it that way on $100,000. We wouldn't need all that extra pricing. So what he put in the box, because I saw the new proposal because he submitted it with his protest, he put that $100,000 in the box, not what it actually adds up to, which would have been incorrect. So it's still incorrect.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you for that.
And we did that to protect the district because we wanted to have that extra work priced in a competitive environment so we get the best rates possible for the district.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I just will note, we do have one comment card for a speaker on this particular topic, so. There we go.
Good morning, Honorable President and board members. My name is Jason Jackson, President and CEO of Southwest Security Services. I will try to keep this short as the President has asked. I'm going to basically, in this packet that I'm handing out, or so is handing out, is my initial protest letter, which I think Ms. Baker covered. The second part is the response that she sent, which I think mostly she covered. And then the third part is the actual addendum that caused me to overlook, which was my mistake. But if you look at that addendum 1, and the comment that I made to Ms. Baker when I spoke to her on the phone is that I felt that this should have been separated, because if you look at the addendum, it says page 1 of 9, page 2 of 9, 3 of 9, 4 of 9, all the way through. I flipped through a part of this addendum. It wasn't material to me because I have had this contract for 15 years and providing security services for the district. So a lot of these questions are the same general questions, like who's the company that currently has a contract, how much are they paying, on and on and on. So it's kind of the minutia that goes through with RFPs. So I stopped reading it probably halfway through. I did not realize that after page 9, which it says pages 1 through 9, that there's 3 more pages that were attached to this addendum, which was the change of the price of the cost proposal. Now, Ms. Baker talks about the fact that I claim that it's immaterial, and I hold to that, because if you look at the next 2 pieces of literature that are in here are the 2 cost proposals. The first one is the one that was submitted, and I do admit I was at sea and my staff was trying to withdraw the bid and enter the updated bid, but it doesn't change anything as far as what the numbers are. Miss Baker's incorrect when she says that it changes anything. to your own proposal, it says that the cap is $100,000. It doesn't matter, and she even said, if I say it's $200,000, it doesn't matter. It's a $100,000 cap. So whatever the proposal is by every company, if it's $500,000 plus $100,000, the bid is $600,000. It doesn't matter what the breakdown is. Okay, so the bid itself, from what I turned in and what the secondary one, which was also turned in late, was no change. The bid is $665,029.10. Doesn't change anything. The breakdown, which was asked for later or as part of Addendum 1, all it does is ask for the breakdown of that $100,000. In my case, I use the exact same numbers. I've done that historically. I don't upcharge. I don't, say, okay, well, our bid is normally $25 an hour. Because you have a problem, because we have a broken canal, I'm going to stick it to you and charge you $50 an hour. I charge the same price or very near to it, depending on what we have to do, if it's an emergency, overtime, things like that. So even in my original proposal, at the bottom of it, the only thing that wasn't asked for in the original proposal was the price for a vehicle. I actually submitted that and put on there it was $75 a day. So that was the only difference, but there's still no difference. There's no material difference. The bid is the bid. It is still $665,029.10, regardless of what that secondary part of that proposal was asked for. And when they changed the price sheet, it doesn't matter what anybody puts. If everybody puts $50 an hour, it's still going to be capped at $100,000, which means that the bid is whatever you bid for the entirety of the contract plus $100,000. It doesn't change. The last sheet that I put in here is a historic look back at the last 5 years of this contract, or the last 5-year contract that I've had. This shows you that the as needed extra services in 2021 was $0. In 2022 was $6,000. In 2023 was $11,259. 2024 $14,990, which out of that $14,990, $14,390 was basically a pass through that I helped the district with when we brought in a mobile security camera, and to save the district from having to contract with another vendor because they needed it right away, we did it through my company so that we can get it on site right away. So that really doesn't even go to me. And then in 2025, we had 17,146. And so far in 2026, as of today, $0. So over the 5-year period, we've expended $49,395, which I could argue 14,000 of it wasn't even part of my contract, which is less than 1.5% of the total contract.
All right, we're past our 3 minutes.
Yeah. So I would just ask that all I'm asking for, in short, is that my proposal be allowed to be judged by the committee. If the committee deems that this other company that's 200 plus miles away from Coachella Valley is the best company, then so be it. But if apples to apples, I just want to be part of the process. And if the committee thinks that my company is still the best company, then I would like that award. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
So again, staff intends to bring both these items back to the board for consideration and approval of staff's recommendation on the 14th of July.
Thank you.
Is staff looking for some direction right now?
If you have questions, that would be helpful.
I don't know. There's a lot going on here, and maybe we ought to, allow everybody to redo it. So I don't know if we can just go and allow Southwest, but like you said, maybe we ought to there's just too many things going on. This is ridiculous, spending this much time on this.
So if you want staff to go back and reissue the RFP, we're spending even more time on it.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought
Yes.
you thought it was, we were spending too much time on it already.
Correct.
And to reissue
but
it means.
it's there's a lot of circumstances here. There's a lot of moving parts. So it seemed like lots of people had problems. Wasn't just one. There's something going on, and I think it's maybe fair to do that. I don't know. What do you guys think? That's just my first inclination on this.
So there was a comment that was made about if you try to accommodate the request, it then kind of opens up this unlimited
Yes.
thing, right?
That's where I'm getting at.
Yes.
And so I guess this is a question for both you and the council. There is no limitation that we could put, that we a standard that we can set in this analysis to say, and I think that's the direction that you're looking for. Well, how much of that do you want to waive?
Right.
And I think a question to the attorney is there anything that we can waive here? Is based on what you've
Somebody's
looked
added
at?
them on the
Are these things?
How much discretion do we have?
Yeah, how much discretion do we have, and is it true that if we do one thing, it forces us to do essentially like a redo of the whole process? Because I imagine, I'm hoping that the answer is that there's some type of middle ground, and not necessarily we have to redo all this, but there are things that we can consider that might allow one or two or three other folks to be evaluated.
I mean, so if you say that the problem that Southwest had was immaterial, do we have to say that the other bidders was all immaterial too? That's
yeah, and I don't think that's the same. But that's
yeah,
what I'm asking.
That's where
for.
we're at. That's the question.
I have Adam Vasquez from our office who worked with staff on this proposal is online, and he can speak to that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, this is Adam Vasquez for BBK representing the district. So to your question, my recommendation is to, if there are corrections, that if we want to make corrections or allow Southwest to submit a bid to be reevaluated as part of that committee process, then we can potentially set a line in the sand for others, but it would probably get messy pretty quickly. If you're making an exception for one, the cleanest approach would be to allow for the proposers to resubmit. And if they make errors at that time, then you can deal with it at that moment. But the cleanest way to do this would be to allow Southwest, if the board wants to allow corrections to be made, understanding that it's going to increase the amount of time to get under contract and delay the award. If you want to consider Southwest, we would recommend that you consider other proposals as well. The risk is that by considering only Southwest or only a handful of these proposals, you're exposing the district to future protests from those proposers who are not afforded the same opportunity.
So just to be clear, Adam, it's not rebidding the entire proposal. But it would involve opening it up to the other 9 who had irregular
Yeah,
fees.
I mean, what about the firm that you're recommending the award to?
Right.
Yeah, I think that the outcome here would be that for those that submitted responsive proposals, you know, they would probably submit a protest arguing, hey, we did everything right. And now, you know, we're having to be reevaluated against those who didn't submit correctly. And now you're, you know, making exceptions for them. So I would, you know, I don't have a crystal ball, but I think that it would.
So isn't it cleaner for us to, if in fact there are things that we have discretion over to make those findings? Wouldn't that be the cleanest way to say, okay, well, we made findings and these are the findings?
Well, what would you base the findings on?
Yeah, I mean, you might not have all the information right now because we've only heard from one person, and it just seems now that somebody's being strongly recommended for this award, what I heard. Now that everyone's seen everyone else's work, they get to redo it. It doesn't make sense to me. I know there's somebody back here wanting to speak. I don't know.
Well, he spoke earlier. I don't know if you're going to open
This
it up
is
to
Water
everybody.
Trucks?
No, he didn't speak before.
Oh, okay, sorry. It was him.
Yeah, go ahead. Come on up to either one's fine.
Sure. So you're correct. We did everything right.
Can
And
you
if it
state
does
your
go to
name
that
for the
point,
record, please?
my name is Joe Leal. I'm one of the regional managers for Absolute International Security. And we do have a lot of operational space here right down the street. We do provide a lot of oversight for DPSS, special investigations. So we have a lot of operational site, historical security services in this area. But you're absolutely correct. We have done everything the right way. And if we did decide to go that way, we will turn around and we will also petition against, right? Because we've submitted and we've proven, obviously, that we are a great contender and a chosen contender. I understand, the dilemma, but we are also now drug into this as well. We've already made operational plans. We've already established ourselves based on the intent to award, and then this happened. So there's cost inquired on our end, even prior to ensure a successful launch when that happens. I just wanted to make you all aware that it's a tricky, not easy. We trust you'll do the right thing, but we're also affected as well.
Yeah.
I wanted you to hear from us.
Thank you. Tell me your name again.
Joe Leal, Joeleal is the last name.
Thank you, Mr. Leal.
Of course.
So when does the current contract expire?
End of the month.
End of.
Expires at the end of this month. At the end of this
So,
month.
so in the event, just speculate that we decide to go a different direction, then does that contract have an extension period so that we have?
We've had to go ahead and ask the current incumbent to extend the contract until we can get this awarded.
I mean, the other option we have is just to go forward with the recommendation in July, and then either at that time accept it or decline.
Right.
And then that
there
would
is
re-trigger a bidding process.
Right, and I want to make sure that that information that was given to you is incorrect as far as that extra work not affecting the price. If you look at the sheet correctly, it does allow us to limit it, but we use their actual calculated number to get to the value that we scored them on. So I just want to make sure you know that's not factually correct.
Yeah, we're not going to debate this. I don't think that's appropriate. You've said you made your point. We heard it. Okay. All right.
So again, I don't want to belabor the point here, but staff will bring back the recommendations on the 14th that they have made today. Okay? Unless I hear from the full board differently, staff will bring back the recommendations that they have made today. If you want a different course of action, I need the majority of the board to give me that direction.
Well, I'm going to suggest that, and maybe as a way to force some of that direction, is that we don't bring it at the next one to allow time for more discussion. And I don't know if what the appropriate venue for that is, but I'm concerned that if we bring it at the next one, it might not be ready. So I'd like to give it more time.
So what would you need from staff in order to change the consideration on staff's recommendation?
I think hearing more about the possibility of findings and what those findings might be, that drives the line on the sand, per se.
So Adam, I'm not sure what findings the board is going to be able to make based on staff's adherence to a published policy and procedure. Can you help me understand that?
Sure. So staff would essentially be making findings that the irregularity was potentially immaterial and that it waives that irregularity with respect to Southwest. If staff wanted to, it could also not really take a stance as to the, materiality of the issue and also waive irregularities for others and allow those proposals to move forward into the evaluation process. So if staff wanted to, or if the district board, instructed staff to waive those irregularities for Southwest as well as others, they would simply move forward to the evaluation process and would be ranked against those others who have already been ranked accordingly. So, it would probably be the best way. The best process would be to reopen it and to restart the process because, those proposals have already been submitted and they've become public record, right? So I think the process would be to allow for findings to be made as to the immaterial or material irregularities, a waiver of those issues, a reopening of the proposal process, and then evaluation again. So I think that process would probably take about 2 months.
So let me make sure I understand. You helped staff get to the point that they are currently at, right? You looked at what was considered immaterial and what was not considered immaterial. So now what you're saying is staff should go back and revalidate those determinations?
No, I'm not saying what staff should or should not do. I'm just presenting a suite of options should the board give that direction to staff and what that would look like. But it would be when working with staff.
Weren't these already evaluated as material or immaterial?
They were.
So what are you now suggesting, that the staff go back and reevaluate things they've already evaluated? I'm not sure how that helps.
No, I'm simply explaining what that would look like if the board gave direction to staff to waive those irregularities.
And then once the irregularities or regularities, however you want to say it, are waived, you're still require the cleanest approach would be to have everybody go back out on and bid again. Now that everybody knows what everybody's number is, you're basically saying the cleanness, you're going to rebid the entire package. My experience, having been a contracting officer under federal rules, is the only time you can go out again is to change the scope of work so that you're not asking the industry to rebid the same scope of work. There needs to be a change in order to go out for a new bidding process.
No, that's not the case in this local agency in California public contracting requirements for this type of professional services or non-public works projects. So you would be able to re-procure the work under a similar or the exact same scope of work through a reopened brand new RFP process, or you could waive the irregularities on a case-by-case basis. I would recommend that it be consistent and that it be applied to all proposers, giving them all the opportunity to submit corrected proposals and then move those towards an evaluation stage.
Yeah, I'm done.
I think that suite of options invites chaos.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm asking is, I think earlier we heard on item number 9, Caliagua, they were above their threshold at 5.6%, but it was deemed immaterial, and they were allowed to take 0.6% of that and change it to the demobilization so that they would meet the requirements so that they could be part of the process. I'm not even asking to move numbers or do anything. I'm just asking for my proposal to be fairly. Nobody's seen my proposal. She wouldn't allow it to be part of the proposal. I was kicked out the first day. So nobody's seen my proposal. I'm not trying to change anything. I'm not asking for any changes. Just asking for the one item to be deemed immaterial. That was an immaterial defect, which in the guidelines of the RFP, item D and G both give you the right as the authority, just like they did in the Caliagua bid. It gave them the discretion to deem it an immaterial defect and allow it. That's all I'm asking, is that just allow my proposal to be seen.
All right, got it. Thank you.
That's it.
Well, John, I mean, this is an informational, no action item. So, I mean, unless there are, as Jim has pointed out, a majority of board members here today that want to consider this for further action, not consistent with the staff's direction, then that would be apparent today. So I think we need to make a determination.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Well, there was a motion to, I think there was direction to either bring it at the next one or not, and there was a motion not to bring it at the next one. So, has the motion died?
No, I think there was discussion. I don't think there was
I,
motion.
I don't have a motion. I don't have an official motion.
Well, I would make a motion. I would make a motion not to bring this at the next meeting.
Not to bring it up.
Not to bring it.
I don't know how that helps us. Wouldn't the motion be to just say that that's what we think, that that's immaterial?
That would be a better one if we're ready to make if we're ready to make that determination.
And then because we don't know.
I'm not ready to make that determination.
So you're not ready to make that determination.
To waive the immateriality of his submission? No.
Okay. So we would.
I would say don't bring it at the next one.
Don't bring it to the next one. Okay.
We can figure it out. Whatever.
So delay action on this item.
I'll second it.
And then what's going to happen in the meantime?
I think if it's appropriate to have a closed session item at the next at that meeting, then we can further hash it out, maybe speak more freely, and we're hearing maybe there's.
Is there any chance that this would be considered a closed session item?
I'll defer that to Adam.
This can be considered as part of a closed session. Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Because there's potential for litigation?
Correct.
All right. Well, why don't we put it on the closed session agenda for the next meeting?
Yeah.
Fair enough. We can do that. And we can still extend. You're willing to go another month or two? It might be longer. Yeah. All right. All right. So are we voting on this? I mean, is this an actual action item here?
I think just for clarity and transparency, I think a vote would be appropriate. And the motion would be to delay the item, the action of the item, and bring this back at a closed session discussion on the 14th.
Yeah.
Is that
Fair enough.
okay? And the second agrees?
That's you.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right. Let's try to avoid chaos. We'll see what happens. I just don't see the light on it yet. Maybe it will. Maybe I'll come around. He has my sympathy, but yeah, I know. All right. Well, that was fun. So that was only an hour and 15 minutes for that. 16 minutes.
I'm okay. I'm not going to say anything.
So we're on to board general comments. Why don't we start with Director Sanchez?
No comments. No comments, John.
No comments.
None.
I will say I got a text from a former director. I won't say who. saying he would take the over on the 126 million on the capital improvement budget.
He's taking me on.
Huh?
He said I
Over on 126.
I did 120.
I'm taking the under on 196. That's all I said.
Well, you're.
That's
easy. That's not fair.
You know that one's safe.
Yeah.
You got to get close.
No, we're not gonna go over 120.
I don't really have. I guess I don't have any comments. Happy birthday to the United States, because I don't think we're going to see each other before the 4th of July, are we? Yeah. I still remember the bicentennial. I was a little guy. I was 11 years old.
Boy, you're old.
I was 11 years old. You weren't even born yet? Yeah. 1976. Anyways. Was it? Yeah. Okay. So do we have any board requests for future agenda items? No. Let's go through the meetings then. First one is the Colorado River Board, Vice President Estrada. Preparing for the Colorado River.
Yeah, that was a few days prior to our a board meeting here in Palm Desert, and I was gonna fill in for Mr. Nelson, and so I had a debrief call with him and Robert.
Okay, good. We have listed the swearing in of Director Sanchez, and if we're going to do per diem for that, I'll put my name on there too. There were, and I think Director Aguilar was there too. We might as well all go.
Everybody except me, I think.
Yeah, we might as well all go in on that one.
We can't pay Director Sanchez for that one
No,
because
you
he
can't
wasn't
get
technically on the
per diem
board
for
yet.
that because
But
you weren't.
the rest of you can.
You weren't.
Yeah.
Let's do that. And then we had Coachella Irrigated Lands on the 28th, which I was on there, and actually Sanchez chairs that. I don't know what we wanted to say about it. It's just a kind of a costly thing that the state keeps asking us to do more and more.
Yeah, our membership has declined, and so that's an issue, and so our assessments have gone up from 850 to 9. So yes.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing because there's no enforcement on it. There's always a threat of enforcement, but apparently that's not enough for everyone to participate. The threat being from the regional board, not from CVIL. Okay. June 1, Salton Sea Authority. Directors.
Yeah, that was an executive meeting. It was really to hash out some invoices that needed to be reconciled with CV Strategies, and so there was some. It was a one-on-one meeting with them between the Salton Sea Authority and CV Strategies, and those issues got resolved. And that was the reason for the meeting.
Okay. June 10th, Colorado River Board.
I did not attend that meeting.
Okay. We need to work on that that appointment too. June 11th, COD and CBWD meeting regarding Lower Valley infrastructure.
Yes, there's been several attempts to revive the expansion of the Eastern Coachella Valley campus in Mecca. At one time, the original proposal was probably made in 2008. We've met with a number of their presidents, CEOs of the College of the Desert, probably going back 10 years. And they have a new one now, so they're back at trying to understand what it would take for that campus to expand. They've been working with staff. I think staff has provided them a path forward. They are looking to, and maybe the short term, 2 years or so, to expand that to a thousand student campus. A lot of it, I think, is going to be primarily focused on agriculture. But in order for that expansion to happen, they won't be able to rely on their septic tanks right now. So there's a need to expand the sewer system. And they seem to indicate that they have the budget for that. They have about $8 billion to do that.
And this is
in Mecca.
In Mecca.
Buchanan and 60.
Yes, correct.
Wow.
So
we've been hearing about it for a long time.
I think it's gonna move forward a little bit. I saw renderings, so that I had never seen that before. It looks beautiful. And they say they have money available. So I think it's more of them just understanding what they need to do through our process in order for those approvals to happen. So that was a good meeting, very promising. So yeah, I was happy to be there.
Good. June, how much do they have?
$8 million.
$8
And I
million.
think we're telling them it's going to take about $8 million to build that.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Okay. June 11th, Coachella Bay Conservation Commission. Bianca.
And so both of the meetings are back to back. CBCC, we went over the annual budget. In the environment meeting, we had a nice, JB Hamby gave us everybody a nice update that everyone could understand on the negotiations on the Colorado River. And then we had a little information on some grant money available for a regional plan for functional shade and community spaces. We'll see what comes about.
Functional shade. Okay. Thanks. June 11th, retirement celebration of Indio City Manager Bryant Montgomery.
I was not able to
Didn't go
attend.
to that. Okay. June 18th, Salton Sea Authority Board.
Yes, that was last Thursday. Met at the supervisors' chambers in Imperial. Big takeaway there was reshuffling of the officers. So Chairman Mireles from the Torres Martinez tribe is now the chair. I'm gonna stay as the vice chair, and supervisor. How do you pronounce her last name? Sign. Singh. Yeah, Singh. Yeah, she's also going to be one of the officers, and Supervisor Kelly. Other than that, we did have a brief update from Yvonne from Natural Resources, and got an update on some of that. But it was really mostly the officers, but it was a short meeting. It was really short. That was it for that.
All right. A groundbreaking ceremony for Milton Street Polanco Parks. And I have to ask, are they locating these Polanco Parks near infrastructure?
Yes, I think
there's a water line.
that's why they're celebrating. That's why they had a groundbreaking.
Yeah, I would hope so.
I was there.
I was not there, but I heard you were there.
I represented Vice President Stroud.
Good.
Good.
At the groundbreaking.
Good.
Yeah, actually, it was really. Karen was there, and Mario was there as well. Yeah. 210, and it was Supervisor Perez made a very spirited presentation, and the two developers, the two park owners, also spoke, and it was pretty emotional actually, given the amount of time it's taken to get these parks into place.
All right.
And Kelmex, who is the developer, was there as well. Of course, that's Monica Tejas. So it was great to have everybody there.
Okay, good. I'll add one. June 16th, Colorado River Water User Association. We had our mid-year Zoom call, going over budgets and plans for our December Vegas meetings. Pretty standard. Any other meetings? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve per diem for the meetings reported on? Somebody make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
You're drinking.
I was the only one.
Somebody had to do it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. General manager report.
I have nothing today, sir.
Council.
I have no report, thank you.
Thank you for sitting in today, Nick.
And then we have one departmental.
Oh, no. Scott Burrett.
It'll be less than 30 minutes, I promise. So at the last board meeting, we had a discussion about the Oasis charges that were being assessed, and I just wanted to give the board an update that we're going to begin the IWA process for the Oasis customers beginning July 1st. So they'll first see that it'll be assessed on July 1st, and then water usage will offset the IWA charge throughout the year. And we're also going to begin charging the outside ID1 surcharge, which we haven't charged up to this point because we made a decision, I think it was in 2025, not to start it right away. So we put that off for a year, and folks are using water now. And if we have any particular issues with individual properties, we can address them. That was it.
Thank you.
You didn't have any slides or anything.
I have one more thing. I just wanted to let you guys know that as far as successes, we just took more than 41 CFS yesterday on the system, which is, that's 80 acre feet a day or 2,400 a month. I'm not saying we're going to stay there all year, but I'm really pleased that with the level of demand on the system thus far. We only have 21 of 37 meters in service, and we're already almost at 41 CFS as of yesterday. So I think it's a good story.
27 of 31. So there's
21 of 37.
Okay, so there's another 16 meters that are not yet active.
Yes, but
again, 20, our goal for the year is 27,000
Acre feet.
acre-feet. We're at 2,400 acre-feet on an average for this month in June thus far. So I think that's very encouraging.
Yeah,
So let
good.
me ask you a question. So why wouldn't people just use their well for the outside ID1, the people that have them?
Are you trying to? So the outside ID1. Don't you get back up here? The outside ID1 surcharge was a tax base because nobody outside ID1 had ever paid the ID1 tax, was my understanding, is why, and it's an acre charge, not a volumetric acre foot charge.
But if you're not going to use Oasis water outside ID1,
So
why would you get charged?
So the individual customers, the 21 customers at this point, have signed agreements committing to the outside ID1 surcharge for those at the area of the property outside of their, or the area outside ID1. So not all the acreage is necessarily, from an individual perspective, is outside ID1, but they could continue to use their private wells, but this charge based on the agreement that individual customers have signed would still be assessed. So there isn't
That doesn't make sense.
Well, no. So
Yeah, we create a boundary.
if you're using your well, you're going to have to pay for your rack, and you're also going to have to pay for the availability assessment for the unused canal water.
Yeah.
So
If
you're going to
you're
end
in-
up paying twice.
No. You're using your water availability on stuff that's inside ID1. Okay, right? You're using enough water that covers that. Okay,
Right.
but you're outside ID1. You're using well water.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna ask them to pay. You're gonna ask them to pay twice.
Well, for the area outside of ID1,
But why are you paying for that?
so
If you're not receiving any, if you're not using any water there.
I mean, from my perspective, we would charge for it because customers have signed agreements to receiving water for their parcels outside of ID1 already. So they've already signed agreements agreeing to that charge.
Maybe, Director Bianco, are you saying that you've got parcels that are proximate to each other, and if you can satisfy the irrigation water availability for both just inside, you're wondering why there would be an assessment outside?
Correct. Why if you're using well water for that?
Right. And I don't know. We may have to look at that if the
Well,
assessment is
I-
for
I-
both.
What I'm trying to say is I don't think you guys have thought of that. Like you missed something. That's what I'm trying to say, and you need to look at that.
So
You
we
keep
could look
saying, well, someone signed a sheet. You're right, but they said that if I use I think the sheet said if you use water outside ID1, that's Oasis water, then you're going to pay this assessment. I get that, but if you're going to use well water outside ID1 and the Oasis water inside ID1, why would you pay the?
Yes. Yeah. So I think, we
Because
could.
you're assuming that people who needed Oasis water all needed
Water outside.
needed the extra water outside of ID1, and I think the case is that we're trying to conserve the water in the ground and use.
So this is why I actually said in my comment that if there are individual issues with customers, either on the IWA, because there might be some customers who maybe don't have full capacity to receive it yet, or I think they all can, but as they come online, or individual questions or issues with the outside ID1, that we'll handle those on a case-by-case basis.
I mean, there's parcels that are split by the boundary, right?
Yeah, so the agreement, and I know you don't want to hear, but the agreements have there's some part of the agreements, or the agreements cover the lands that are outside ID1 and also inside ID1. So the area that's inside ID1 is covered by the IWAA, and the area outside is the outside ID1 surcharge.
My understanding is that once you sign the agreement, the outside ID1
surcharge was not volumetric. It was only on an acre basis, and it was because nobody outside ID1 had ever paid the Improvement District 1 tax as those inside ID1. So it was a way
Right.
to make those people inside ID1 whole by paying this outside ID1 surcharge to be able to have the ability to take the water once you sign the agreement. That was my understanding.
That's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah.
Thank you, Dan.
It's their keys. Okay.
Okay.
That was it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, closed session.
So regular meetings, at this time, I wish, at this time we'll recess into closed session to consider the items on the agenda. Can't leave yet. We will reconvene the open session following to do our report out. Regular meeting is reconvened. We have no reportable action from closed session. With no further business, we are adjourned. Let's get out of here.
Sir.